Chapter 1046. It was said that concubine Lan was originally the younger sister of the former empress. It was said that she was also an outstanding beauty, but her fate was not good. She was judged to be a jinx to her parents since she was a child, so she was sent to a nunnery to cultivate in seclusion. She was raised in a nunnery since she was a child. If the emperor, who was still a prince at that time, had not seen her by chance, fallen in love with her at first sight and brought her back to his mansion, she would probably have died in a nunnery. When the emperor brought her back to his mansion, he did not know her identity. He only thought that she was an orphan in troubled times who was born in a nunnery. Later, he learned about her background from concubine Lan. The emperor naturally took her to meet her relatives, but that was all. At that time, the late emperor was seriously ill and the whole country was paying attention to the late emperor. Who would care about a little girl? Moreover, it was just a concubine, so this matter was minimized and compressed. Because the emperor was seriously ill, the ceremony of concubine was not held. He only said that it would be held in the future, and only a few people knew about it. After the death of the former emperor, the emperor succeeded the throne and concubine Lan was conferred the title of concubine Lan. But a few days later, she angered the emperor because of the title and was put in custody. She had been put in custody for so many years. Many new people in the harem had not even heard of the title of concubine Lan. Only a few old people like concubine Do would remember such a thing and such a person. Concubine Lan's residence was also very remote, not too far from the cold palace. At first glance, it was obvious that she had been neglected. With so many concubines in the palace, who would pay attention to a concubine who had not given birth to a child and had lost favor early? If Xiao Yanru had not found that concubine Lan was favored at that time, Chu Luiyue would not have cared so much about such a concubine. He specially asked his mother about it and found that concubine Lan was probably Chu Luiyue's biological aunt. Is she still alive after being locked up for so long? After hearing Chu Luiyue's words, Mr. Lu frowned and raised a new question. This should be alive. There are imperial guards guarding the gate of the palace, and even the empress is not allowed to enter. Chu Luiyue thought for a while and said. He also wanted to investigate this matter later, so he naturally did a lot of tricks in it. But after investigating, he only found this. Still not allowing the empress to enter. Your Highness, this subordinate feels that there is a problem here. Teacher Lu thought for a moment and said, could it be that this consort Lan is actually not out of favor? The so-called confinement is to protect her. After all, her status is not as high as the empress, and she has not given birth to an heir. Chu Luiyue interrupted Mr. Lu's words and said with a smile, it's impossible. Even though the empress has a high status, if she is protected by my father, can't he protect a favorite concubine? If the empress was really so useful, there was no need to fight for the throne at present. It must be given to Chu Liuzhou, and it had nothing to do with her at all. Although the empress's position was important in the inner palace, it was of no use in the previous court. Since that's not the case, could it be that the emperor still thinks highly of Prince Chen because of concubine Lan's kindness? Even if Prince Chen is the emperor's nephew, he still has a very high position in the emperor's heart. Mr. Lu put forward a second guess. Did father think highly of Chu Luchen because of concubine Lan? Chu Luiyue had never thought of this idea before, but now he felt that it was really possible. At that time, Xiao Yanru repeatedly told him that this concubine Lan must be very favored by the emperor. Even if she was grounded now, it was possible that he really wanted to protect her. It was certain that concubine Lan was still alive. Otherwise, the imperial guards there would have been withdrawn long ago. Concubine Lan had no other relatives except for her sister's son, Chu Luchen. It was possible that father doted on Chu Luchen more for the sake of concubine Lan's concern. Thinking of this, concubine Lan was really amazing. She had been locked up for so many years, but could she still affect father? Chu Liuyue's face became serious. This was something he had neglected. If he had known that this concubine Lan had such great ability, he should have asked Xiao Yanru to investigate more carefully. Your Highness, you can take your time to investigate the matter of concubine Lan. The most important thing now is Prince Chen. The emperor doesn't know what to do with Prince Chen, and it's not certain where Princess Yutao will go. But if you get rid of one person now, it will definitely make this marriage happen. The emperor has to agree to this marriage even if he doesn't agree. Mr. Lu composed himself and came up with an idea. This was a new idea he had just come up with, which was the best way to solve the current dilemma. Who? Chu Luiyue asked with a frown. He had a bad feeling. Get rid of Princess Chen. Mr. Lu tapped his hand on the table gently and said concisely. No. Chu Luiyue said subconsciously. After saying that, his heart suddenly skipped a beat, and he had a very indescribable feeling. Your Highness, Princess Chen is the key. If Princess Chen dies, there will be no doubt that Princess Yutao will marry Prince Chen. Prince Chen can't use the fact that he already has Princess Chen as an excuse. Even if the emperor has other ideas, he will definitely agree to this marriage for the sake of national affairs. As long as Prince Chen marries this foreign Princess Yutao, no matter who is involved behind him, it will be impossible for him to have anything to do with the emperor. The future prince can't have the blood of the Su kingdom. Mr. Lu looked at Chu Luiyue in confusion. Wasn't this the best idea? He could break through 1,000 lines with his own strength and win the battle from 1,000 miles away. Princess Chen is just a weak woman. In fact, she is not so useful. Chu Luiyue shook his head and explained vaguely. Your Highness, don't bother about trifles when doing big things. Princess Chen is really the key to everything. It doesn't matter whether she is a weak woman or not, but her current status and situation. If you can kill her, all the problems will be solved. For your Highness, it will be a great joy. Mr. Lu tried to persuade him. He didn't understand why Prince Yu, who had always been obedient to him, would hesitate at this time. At this time, shouldn't he directly agree to this matter and send someone to secretly find an opportunity? She is a weak woman. Since you want her to leave this position, killing her is not the only way. In fact, you can kidnap her. Chu Luiyue calmed down and said. If that woman, who was as beautiful as a peony and as elegant as glass, were to disappear from the world just like that, it would truly be heartbreaking. Kidnap her? After thinking about it, Mr. Lu's eyes lit up and he nodded repeatedly. Your Highness's idea is good and even better than mine. If we kidnap her, even if we find her later, her reputation will be ruined and she will not be able to sit firmly on the position of Princess Yutao. If we can't find her back, no one will stand in Princess Yutao's way. That's good, that's good. Then think of a way to kidnap her. Hearing Mr. Lu's agreement, Chu Luiyue's heart also became excited. Come on, such a beautiful woman could be kidnapped. Of course, he would not return her to Chu Luchen. Now that the arrogant and overbearing Chu Luchen was not in the capital city, it was the best time. However, at this time, not only Chu Luiyue but also Chu Liuzhou had the same idea as him. Mother, kidnap her. It's the best for Princess Yutao to marry Chu Luchen, lest he thinks that he is so great, as if he is the future crown prince. Chu Liuzhou also proposed to the empress. Thinking of Xiao Wanru's appearance, his heart was also burning. He had been jealous of Chu Luchen before. Chu Luchen was obviously a sick man who was about to die, but he could marry such a stunning beauty. Although he was a princess and a concubine, the two of them were not as good as Xiao Wanru. Every time he thought of this, Chu Liuzhou felt annoyed. In terms of identity, he was the most noble. Why did the best woman marry the useless sick man instead of him? Just kill her and end all troubles. The empress insisted, her face a little blue in the dim window. How could she not understand her son's character? He really fell in love with Princess Chen. That couldn't be done. Since Xiao Wanru had already married Princess Chen, she shouldn't have anything to do with her son. If she really got involved with Princess Chen, it would be a heavy stroke in the history books in the future, and it would ruin her son's reputation. Mother, if we really kill Princess Chen, in case something happens, there will be no room for negotiation. Chu Liuzhou said in a low voice. His words made the Empress silent for a while. After a long while, she gritted her teeth and looked at Chu Liuzhou and said, "Since you have to kidnap her, let me deal with her after the kidnapping. You can't keep her." Xiao Wanru seemed to be a hot potato. It was not a good thing for her son to keep her. The Empress thought it was better to keep her in her own hands. "I'll do as you say, mother." Chu Liuzhou didn't disobey the Empress at all, which made the Empress show a smile on her face, which diluted her previous blue face. "It's the best for my son to think so. What I'm doing is for your own good. At this time, we can't have other ideas. We should fight steadily step by step. At present, our position seems to be noble, but it's very dangerous. On the one hand, we should be careful of this, and on the other hand, we should be careful of that. Don't let anyone take advantage of the loophole and become the last fisherman." The Empress hinted. She was afraid that if she fought with Chu Luchen here, Chu Luyue would become the Oriole, which would be good for him. "Mother, rest assured. I will keep it in mind." Chu Liuzhou nodded repeatedly. Before the envoys came back, there was already a turbulent situation in the capital city. Many people had received the news that Princess Yutao of the Su state was going to marry Prince Chen. But didn't Prince Chen already have a princess? This matter seemed to be very difficult to deal with. But no one said it out in the open. Everyone hid it in their hearts, waiting for a suitable opportunity to follow behind the crowd to express their opinions. At this time, other things became trivial. No one cared that Infanta Yuan was disfigured, and no one cared that the first young master of Marquis Xing's mansion had hurt his leg. None of them would be good if they met each other. Chapter 1047. Your Highness, look at Prince's letter by pigeon. Qing hurriedly took a letter and handed it to Xiao Wanru. Chu Liuchen's previous letters were all sent from the courier station and even followed the Empress Dowager's letter. Compared with the Empress Dowager's thick letter, Xiao Wanru's letter was basically a little thinner. But even so, it was basically as thick as several sheets of paper. At this time, there was only one piece of paper. After opening it, there were only a few words. "It's a rumor that Princess Yutao will marry me. Be careful." These words were written with a red cinnabar pen. The strokes were strong and powerful, and the words were written on the back of the paper. The back of the paper was faintly blood red, which made people's heart palpitate. Xiao Wanru's heart suddenly skipped a beat. She reached out to touch her head and closed her eyes slightly. This kind of red words made her feel strange and out of place. It inexplicably reminded her of the remnant memory of her last life. In her memory, there was a blood-red imperial palace and so many dead palace maids and beauties. "Your Highness, what's wrong with you?" Qing hurriedly asked when she saw Xiao Wanru's situation. "I'm fine." Xiao Wanru shook her head, forced her eyes open, folded the paper in her hand, and then took a deep breath. "We won't go out of the mansion recently. Everything will be dealt with in the mansion." Xiao Wanru ordered, "Strengthen the guards everywhere. If anything goes wrong, report to me immediately." "Yes, I know. Shall I inform the Imperial Palace?" Qing agreed and said again. Now the princess's safety fell on her, so Qing was a little worried. "There's no need to tell the Imperial Palace. It's important for us to deal with all kinds of changes." Xiao Wanru shook her head. The situation in the Imperial Palace was unclear, and she couldn't see through it for the time being. It was better to stay in her mansion. Chu Luchen sent a letter by pigeon, which naturally meant that he wanted her to be very careful. It could be seen that someone really wanted to marry her. She had always believed in Chu Liuchen's words. Chu Luchen had said in his previous letter that he had dealt with Princess Yutao. Now at this time, he sent a letter by pigeon, which was simple but clear. Someone wanted Princess Yutao to marry Chu Luchen, and she was the only obstacle. Only if she died could she make way for Princess Yutao. Thinking of this, she realized that she was really in danger. Your Highness, before he left, His Highness said that if something really happened here and we couldn't stop it, you should go to the Imperial Palace to find Concubine Lan and ask her to protect you. Qing suggested. Concubine Lan. Xiao Wanru frowned slightly. She had not only heard of this Concubine Lan, but had also seen her. But after inquiring about it, she found that almost no one had seen this Concubine Lan. It was said that those who had seen her were all very old. Besides, it had been a long time. It was only said that this Concubine Lan was very beautiful, but it was not clear about the details. When she mentioned Concubine Lan to Chu Luqian before, Chu Luqian didn't look happy, but now he asked her to seek shelter from this Concubine Lan. I'll leave the security of the mansion to you. Go and ask Nanny Zheng to come here. Xiao Wanru said. Since Concubine Lan had been mentioned and Concubine Lan had indeed sent someone here before, she had to ask Nanny Zheng about it. Qing left. After a while, Nanny Zheng came in, bowed to Xiao Wanru, and then stepped aside. Nanny Zheng, please sit down. Xiao Wanru said politely. After Nanny Zheng thanked Xiao Wanru and sat on the round stool on the right of Xiao Wanru. She looked at Xiao Wanru with a slight smile. Nanny, can you tell me whether Concubine Lan is reliable or not? Xiao Wanru looked at Nanny Zheng with a serious face and asked bluntly. Your Highness, don't worry. Concubine Lan is reliable to you. She can't have any bad intentions towards you and Prince Chen, Nanny Zheng said without hesitation in a straightforward tone without any delay. Won't she do it for someone else? Xiao Wanru changed her question and asked. She won't put His Highness and you in danger for someone else. Concubine Lan has always owed His Highness and has always wanted to treat him well, but His Highness has always refused. Nanny Zheng said and was vague about the key points. Xiao Wanru took a deep look at Nanny Zheng and didn't intend to ask anymore. She would find out what Chu Luqian wanted her to know, and she wouldn't ask about what he didn't want her to know. She had seen Nanny Zheng's performance just now and could tell that Concubine Lan was sincere about Chu Luqian. Moreover, Chu Luqian also said so, which meant that Chu Luqian also thought that Concubine Lan was reliable. In this case, she could borrow Concubine Lan's strength at the critical moment. Of course, it was better to do it by herself. Xiao Wanru didn't want to use Concubine Lan's strength until the last moment. Your Highness, Concubine Lan means that if you are in danger, she can protect you. Even the Empress can't do anything to her. Nanny Zheng was afraid that Xiao Wanru was not confident, so she lowered her voice and said. Xiao Wanru's watery eyes lit up and her thick eyelashes raised. She was shocked in her heart. What kind of confidence made Concubine Lan dare to say such a thing? The master of the imperial harem was the Empress. Xiao Wanru had seen Concubine Lan before. Concubine Lan was definitely a beautiful person, so it was impossible for her to say such arrogant words. However, why did it turn out like this? Had she misunderstood something? Nanny, can you get in touch with Concubine Lan? Xiao Wanru calmed down and asked slowly. It was not the time to figure out why Concubine Lan dared to say so. Your Highness, don't worry. I can do it. Concubine Lan also found something unusual that day, so she sent someone to you. Nanny Zheng nodded and said affirmatively. Okay, let's wait and see. Xiao Wanru said coldly, knowing what to do. The corners of her red lips were slightly raised, showing a trace of coldness. Fortune came from danger. At this time, all the people in the imperial court were concerned about Princess Yutao of the Su Kingdom, so she could do what she wanted carefully and adapt to the situation as soon as possible. The Empress Dowager's birthday was just around the corner, and this was a critical moment. After waving her hand to ask Nanny Zheng to leave, Xiao Wanru sat alone in the room and thought for a while before asking someone to call Nanny Yu over. Nanny Yu was now the supervisor of the inner court, and the housekeeper was in charge of the affairs outside. Both the housekeeper and the supervisor of the outer court were Chu Liuqian's subordinates. Even if Chu Luqian was not here, things would be settled smoothly. Xiao Wanru did not intervene in the affairs of the outer court. Since Chu Luchan trusted the people of the outer court, her intervention would make them panic. Nanny Yu did not come quickly. She had a lot of things to do, so the servant girl did not find her for a while. Later, she found her in the kitchen. Hearing that Xiao Wanru was looking for her, Nanny Yu ran over, panting and sweating. Nanny, don't worry. It's nothing serious. I just want to ask about some trivial matters. Xiao Wanru smiled and asked Yujie to pour tea for Nanny Yu. After sitting down and drinking a cup of tea, Nanny calmed down. She reached out to wipe the sweat on her forehead and said with a wry smile, I'm old. How could I be so inexperienced in the past? Nanny, you're young. It's the right time. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be so comfortable. Xiao Wanru said with a smile. Chu Lu brought up a basin of warm water and let Nanny Yu clean her face. Then she bowed and sat down again. After Nanny Yu sat down again, Xiao Wanru asked with a smile, Nanny Yu, you were in the kitchen just now. Did something happen? Nanny Yu was in charge of the affairs of the inner court, but she did not have to do everything by herself. There were a lot of stewards under her. Xiao Wanru usually asked her servants to do it. Everything in the backyard of Prince Chen's mansion was in good order. The inner courtyard was now under Xiao Wanru's charge. Basically, she called a few stewards to inquire about things every day, and Nanny Yu was in charge of other things. It could be said that Nanny Yu was in charge of all personnel matters, and the junior stewards went to Nanny Yu to deal with things. There is indeed something wrong, but it's not a big deal. There's something wrong with the dishes that were delivered before, so I went to have a look. The kitchen is a little far from here, so I came late. Nanny Yu said angrily. What's the matter? Xiao Wanru asked leisurely. In fact, it's really not a big deal. One of the people who helped deliver the dishes in the mansion was sick, so he asked someone else to deliver the dishes. But the new person who came here is inexperienced. Although the quantity and other things are right, the quality of the dishes is obviously not good. The steward of the kitchen asked me to have a look. Nanny Yu said. Can't you just turn away the bad dishes? Xiao Wanru was surprised. It was indeed not a big deal. Couldn't they just turn back the bad dishes and deliver them again? I'm afraid. I can't do this. Nanny Yu said in embarrassment. Why not? Is there something wrong with it? Xiao Wanru's pink and tender face showed a trace of surprise. She didn't think there was anything wrong with this kind of thing. I heard that the person who delivered the dishes has something to do with the chief steward. He came to deliver the dishes in the face of the chief steward. If he turns away the dishes, he will be humiliating the chief steward. The servants in the kitchen don't dare to do it. In fact, I don't dare to do it either. Nanny Yu sighed and said helplessly. She was the princess's dowry, but the chief steward was the prince's henchman, and all the affairs inside and outside the mansion were handled by the chief steward. Speaking of the chief steward, Nanny Yu was actually convinced. At first glance, she could tell that the chief steward was a scheming person. Nanny Yu felt that compared with her, the chief steward was obviously several levels higher, and she couldn't compare with him. If it weren't for the princess's support, Nanny Yu would feel very flustered every time she saw the chief steward. What's wrong with the dishes? Xiao Wanru thought for a while and asked. There are a lot of rotten leaves on the outside of the cabbage, and some sparse vegetables don't look fresh. As for the meat, most of them are fat, which is obviously not good meat. There are also some potatoes, which look much smaller. Nanny Yu thought for a while and gave an example. Nanny, how did you deal with it? Xiao Wanru blinked her long eyelashes and asked. I went to ask the chief steward about it before. The chief steward said that I would make the decision. I really didn't dare to make the decision at the moment. I originally wanted to talk to the princess, but the princess happened to look for me, so I hurried over. Nanny Yu said with a wry smile. Chapter 1048. Nanny Yu really didn't dare to make a decision on this matter. Although she was the wet nurse of the princess, she heard that the chief steward was the chief eunuch in the palace who had raised the prince since he was a child. In the previous dynasty, he was the chief eunuch of the former empress. She, a small wet nurse, couldn't compare with him. What do you think, Nanny? Xiao Wanru, who had understood everything by now, asked calmly. I mean, Your Highness, don't have a conflict with the chief steward because of this kind of thing. Before I came here, I had already told the supervisor of the kitchen to rebuke the person who sent the dishes when he sent the dishes here tomorrow and tell him not to send some inferior dishes if he still wanted to send good dishes in the future. Nanny, you said to keep the peace. So we just let it go. Xiao Wanru raised her eyebrows. Your Highness, it's not a big deal to take a step back, isn't it? We can't let the prince and you have a grudge because of this kind of thing. Nanny Yu thought that Xiao Wanru didn't want to keep the peace, so she hurriedly persuaded, the chief steward has been treating the prince differently since he was a child. He watched the prince grow up. I heard that Xiao Xuanzi, the prince's servant, was raised by the chief steward. Looking at Nanny Yu, who looked anxious, Xiao Wanru's heart softened. Although she was not very useful as a wet nurse, she was loyal to her in both her previous life and this life. As long as it was related to her, she would give in. Even though she was now the chief steward of the inner court, she didn't become arrogant. This should also be someone else's mistake. Many women married into their husbands' families, and the first thing they did was to seize power. If they didn't do anything wrong, they had to find some mistakes and arrange their own people to take over. But it was different for her. Although she looked fierce in the past, she was of the same mind as Chu Luchen. She had always believed in Chu Liuchen's decisions, and now she would not make a show of strength to his chief steward just because Chu Luchen was not here. She had thought about it before. If someone wanted to plot against her secretly, they would not rest until she left Prince Chen's mansion. She was a woman in the inner court and couldn't handle big things. What's more, Chu Luchen was not here now. Even if something big happened, it couldn't be blamed on her. Then there was only a small matter. Every family had their own trifles. Which part of the mansion was the most prone to accidents? The kitchen was the place where accidents were most likely to happen, because there were new dishes coming in every day, so it was inevitable that there would be contact with the outside every day. She just didn't expect that something would happen in the mansion's kitchen before she could give her orders. It seemed that some people really couldn't wait to harm her. The person who was trying to harm him knew him well. He knew that he couldn't tolerate even the slightest bit of sand in his eyes. That's why he came to the kitchen. If he could cause a rift between him and this chief steward, then the following matters would be easier to handle. What they didn't expect was that Nanny Yu was so loyal and timid that she wouldn't make the decision on her own even if it was related to the front yard. She even had to report it to them. Obviously, they had misjudged her. Those who had died once would not fuss over some small gains and losses. Nanny, be careful. Someone wants to deal with our mansion, and Prince is not here now. If those people succeed, I'm afraid I will lose my life. Xiao Wanru didn't hide it and said to Nanny Yu bluntly. Nanny Yu was so frightened that her face changed drastically. She stood up from the stool and stared at the scene in horror. To Xiao Wanru. It was also the first time for the two maids to hear Xiao Wanru say such words. They were so scared that they couldn't speak for a while. Your Highness, why do you say that? Nanny Yu asked in a trembling voice after a long while. Yes, Princess, who wants to harm you? Who has eaten the heart of a bear and the heart of a leopard? Yu Jie also came to her senses and immediately said angrily. Wang Fei, we won't go anywhere. Let's just stay in the Fu and see who else dares to touch us. Chu Lu thought more and suggested with a pale face. Xiao Wanru's words scared the three of them. Nanny, please sit down. That's just what I said. Prince has already reminded us in his letter, so we have to be more careful during this time. Prince is very reassured that the head housekeeper will handle the affairs of the manor. I am also very reassured. If your matter is in conflict with the head housekeepers, the head housekeeper will take the lead. In this way, we can be of one mind and get through the difficulties together. Xiao Wanru comforted them with a smile. Nanny Yu nodded repeatedly and said, "Your Highness, don't worry. I will. I will never argue with the head housekeeper, nor will I embarrass him. As long as the head housekeeper can protect you, I can do anything." Nanny Yu was really frightened. At this time, she did not want to have a conflict with the head butler. Even if the head butler threw away all the vegetables in the kitchen, she would at most ask someone to pick them up. She would not be angry with the head butler. Her princess's life was the most important. She must wait for the prince to come back. Although the prince looked a little sick and weak, he was the backbone of the whole mansion. Now that the prince was not here and the princess's safety was not guaranteed, Nanny Yu felt that she had a great responsibility. This kind of vegetables was a trivial matter and it didn't matter. "Nanny, there may be more things. There will be more things in the future." Xiao Wanru hinted with a smile. "Your Highness, don't worry. I will deal with it calmly. I will never let it affect the relationship between the inner court and the outer court, and I will not intervene in the affairs of the outer court." Nanny Yu had little experience before. Later, after being taught by Nanny Zheng for a period of time, she was familiar with the affairs of the backyard of Prince Chen's mansion and slowly got on the right path. Sometimes, Nanny Zheng would talk to her about things in the palace. Nanny Yu had heard a lot of things, so she naturally had some thoughts. She felt that she couldn't be like those masters in the palace who had been doing well at first, but now they were burdened by a servant. "That's good. Then let's wait slowly," Xiao Wanru said meaningfully, and her eyes slowly became gloomy. She had to deal with all changes by remaining unchanged. No matter how anyone wanted to deal with her, she could only wait in the mansion. Since the kitchen was a breakthrough, she could let someone keep an eye on it. "Nanny, Qing Yu has been helping you in the past and managing things for you from time to time. Let Qing Yu keep an eye on the kitchen. As the supervisor of the inner court, you can't keep an eye on the kitchen all day long, which inevitably makes a big deal out of nothing. Qing Yu is different. She can help me and is also my personal principal maid." Qing Yu was Xiao Wanru's earliest maid. Like Nanny Yu, she was the most loyal one. However, after she came to the capital city, she was too timid and not as strong as Yujie. She couldn't help Yujie at the critical moment, so she wholeheartedly helped Nanny Yu. Although Xiao Wanru still served Nanny Yu, she did much less than Yujie and Chu Lu. However, she had always been the principal maid. While helping Nanny Yu, she also had some prestige among the servants. At this moment, it was indeed the most suitable candidate to let Qing Yu be in charge. Suitable candidates. Alright, this old servant understands. This old servant will inform Qing Yu later. Oh, what a coincidence. When the accident happened, Qing Yu happened to be there, so I brought Qing Yu with me. When Princess Yu called for people, Qing Yu stayed behind to count the number of spoiled dishes. She should still be in the kitchen now, which is very similar to Princess Yu's intention. Nanny Yu slapped her thigh and said with a smile, "Oh. That's just right." Xiao Wanru nodded with a smile. The envoy came back. Not only did he come back, but he also returned with the two princesses of the Su Kingdom and some generous gifts. Speaking of which, this mission was quite successful. Of course, the most successful thing was the letter of credence from the king of the Su Kingdom in Prince Chen's hands. The Su Kingdom was a small affiliated country of the Dongsan Kingdom. In the past, it also sent gifts, but in recent years, it had been less and less, and almost no envoy came to pay tribute. Now it was a new agreement with the Su Kingdom, and the letter of credence also indicated that it would come to the capital city of the Dongsan Kingdom every year. The matter of Princess Yu Yan marrying Chu Qing had come to a conclusion. As for Princess Yu Tao, she was traveling in the name of marriage. It was said that this title originally belonged to Princess Yu Yan's brother, the first prince. Later, for some reason, it fell on Princess Yu Tao. As a result, Princess Yu Tao had no choice but to follow the diplomatic group to the capital of Eastern Sung Kingdom. They had only been on the road for a day and a few hours, but Prince Qin could not bear it and asked for an early rest. No one in the team, whether it was Chu Qing, who was full of worries, or Qin Huayong, who looked serious, could refuse this righteous decision. No one could be stronger than Prince Chen. Looking at the sun setting high in the sky, they had no choice but to go to the post station and have a rest. In the largest yard of the post station, there were 8 guards standing at the door, which showed that this prince was much more superior than Commandery Prince Qing. There were only 2 guards at the door of Commandery Prince Qing. Looking further inside, the courtyard was quiet and solemn, revealing a bit of sternness. This made Princess Yu Yan, who was passing by, feel apprehensive. This Prince Chen was so handsome and kind. Although he was a little delicate, he was a good person. Why did these guards all look murderous and frightening? It was said that this prince's body had always been like this. He was really handsome, like the legendary son of the sun. Thinking of this, Princess Yu Yan's face turned slightly red, and there was a bit of shyness in her eyes. She turned back and found a place to slowly walk over. It would be great if she could meet Prince Chen by chance. In the main room, it was not as beautiful as Princess Yu Yan imagined. "How's it going?" Chu Luchen leisurely leaned on the thick soft cushion, but a trace of malice flashed in his eyes. In the past, he looked as gentle as jade, but now there was a bit of bloodthirstiness in his ruthlessness. Xiao Xuanzi stepped back and reported, "Master, don't worry, it has been done." At present, the master was the real face, and the gentle as jade in the past was just a mask. Who could take it as the real one? Has the princess also arranged it? Chu Luchen asked again. "Master, don't worry. The princess has arranged it more appropriately. Not only Qing's people, but also another group of people secretly pay attention to Princess Chen. They will never let the princess be hurt." Xiao Xuanzi knew Chu Liuchen's mind best, and he knew that his master was worried about the princess. This princess was the master's favorite. Even if the princess did not care about him, she would definitely care about the princess. Chapter 1049. The Grand Shaman of the Empress's tribe said so. Chu Luchen said lazily. Although he said it as if he was surprised, he didn't seem to care about it at all from his appearance and behavior. "The Grand Shaman said that I would not be in danger on this trip, so my mother let me go. Otherwise, how could they plot against me so easily? If they want me to go and never come back, they have to see if I agree or not," Princess Yu Tao said with anger. She tilted her head and looked at Chu Luchen. She knew that he didn't believe her and felt a little unconvinced. The Grand Shaman of the Empress's tribe was not only from her tribe, but also from the Su country. He was born in the Empress's tribe. Now he was old and returned to the Empress's tribe, so he said that he was the Grand Shaman of the Empress's tribe. "Prince Chen, you don't believe me? Could it be that Princess Yu Tao can tell me some credible things?" Chu Luchen said in boredom. It seemed that he felt bored on the way, so he casually found something interesting to talk about. He was obviously trying to get her parents to talk. Princess Yu Tao became more and more unconvinced. The great shaman's status was so high that even her father didn't dare to go against the great shaman's will. If it wasn't for the great shaman, her mother's position as the empress might not have been preserved. Just based on this point alone, Princess Yu Tao was deeply respected and trusted the great shaman. At this time, Chu Luchen had no time to doubt her. "Your Highness, before my mother became the empress, the Grand Shaman predicted that my mother would become the empress of the Su country in the future and be extremely noble." "Yes, the empress of the Su country is so lucky," Chu Luchen said lazily, as if he was talking nonsense. Princess Yu Tao's eyes almost popped out. How could she not hear the indifference in Chu Liuchen's words? She knew that he still didn't believe her. After stamping her feet hard, she lowered her voice and said, "There is a destined girl in the Dongsan country now. She is destined to be the empress, just like my mother." "The empress?" Chu Luchen raised his eyebrows. "Of course not. She is the empress now. Everyone in the world knows that," Princess Yu Tao said hypocritically. After thinking for a while, she felt that this statement was not right. She tried to recall the specious words of the Grand Shaman and interpreted it in her own way. "In fact, there is a new woman destined to be the empress in the Dongsan country." The previous 2 women who have been the empress don't count. But I don't understand why there are 3 women with the empress. Speaking of this, Princess Yu Tao looked Chu Luchen up and down several times. In the words of the Great Witch, she said that Prince Chen in front of her was extremely noble, but also told Princess Yu Tao to stay away from him. She said that Prince Chen was surrounded by blood, mountains of corpses and seas of blood, which made people unable to see through him and revealed that he was dangerous. He said that there were 2 paths behind Prince Chen. One was a bloody path, and the other had a chance of survival. But she didn't know which one was Prince Chen's path. This Prince Chen was cold-blooded and ruthless. He was a man who could kill and punish others at will. It was difficult for anyone in this world to enter his heart. In his eyes, everyone was a skeleton with a powdered face. In other words, they were the fates of a lonely star. However, when the great shaman heard that this Prince Chen had a wife, he only sighed and said that this Princess Chen also had a great background. He asked Princess Yu Tao to be on good terms with this Princess Chen. After that, Princess Yu Tao said nothing, but he just lowered his head and fell asleep. Thinking of this, Princess Yu Tao sighed. The Grand Shaman could even see that she had feelings for Prince Chen and warned her. She became more and more convinced of the Grand Shaman. Therefore, she hid her romantic feelings for Chu Luchen in her heart. 3 women with the fate of the phoenix living in the same generation? Chu Luchen said casually. He narrowed his eyes and said with a hint of sarcasm, "Is your Grand Shaman accurate? The Empress has the fate of the phoenix, and there are 2 more. Does it mean that there will be 2 empresses in the future? Or will there be 2 emperors?" These words were very rebellious, but he said it casually, as if he was talking about having no freedom after eating. Princess Yu Tao's heart beat fiercely. Chu Luchen dared to say it, but she dared not. She laughed and said, "Actually, I don't understand it. Maybe there is a deeper meaning." The Grand Shaman only said the surname of the woman with the fate of the phoenix. Princess Yu Tao couldn't go on. Suddenly, she couldn't remember what the Grand Shaman said before. She could only smile at Chu Luchen awkwardly and said, "I forgot. It should not be one of the top 100 surnames." The Sioux country had its own written language, but the nobles of the Sioux country were also practicing sinology. Princess Yu Tao was the princess of the Sioux country and had a noble status. Of course, she had learned Chinese characters and written Chinese characters since she was a child. It was just that Princess Yu Tao was a person who loved martial arts. She had no interest in reading and writing. She had only learned a little and could speak, write, and read. As for some special surnames, she could not remember them. She could only remember surnames such as Zhao Qian, Sun Li, Zhou Wu, Zhen Wang. Did your Grand Shaman say anything else you should pay attention to? Chu Luchen elegantly picked up the teacup, took a sip, and asked slowly. It was obvious that he didn't care about it. He didn't even know the surname of the woman with the fate of the phoenix. Princess Yu Tao blinked and suddenly lowered her voice and said, "Prince Chen, you really don't have any ideas?" "Princess Yu Tao, do you?" Chu Luchen said casually. "Of course I have ideas. I'm the eldest legitimate daughter of my father and have a noble status. I'm more qualified than the eldest son of a concubine. Moreover, the Grand Shaman also said that my hope is in the East. With the help of the East, I can successfully ascend to the throne. Isn't Dongsang country in the East? This time, they plotted against me, so it was actually my chance." Princess Yu Tao's hand slammed on the table so hard that the teacups on the table jumped up. She looked at Chu Luchen with fiery eyes and said, "Prince Chen, let's cooperate. Who didn't step on a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood to become an emperor?" She wanted to choose a powerful helper, and of course, she had to choose the most powerful one. Chu Luchen was one of them. At the moment, Princess Yu Tao had already put aside her young girl's desire and regarded herself as an overlord who wanted to ascend to the throne. Love was too far away from her. Moreover, she didn't see any desire in Prince Chen's eyes. She estimated that no matter how beautiful she was, in his eyes, she was just a beautiful skeleton. Why should she ask for a snub like Yu Yan? Such a man was not someone a woman could capture. She didn't know how beautiful Princess Chen in the capital city was. How could she be tempted by this devil? Princess Yutao was a woman, so she was very observant. With the warning of the Grand Shaman, she got rid of all kinds of romantic thoughts about Chu Luchen. Standing in the position of a bystander, Princess Yutao felt that she could see more clearly. When Chu Luchen was talking, he would sometimes smile and look elegant and handsome, but he usually didn't put much emotion into it. It seemed that it was just a performance. Only when he mentioned Princess Chen would there be a trace of tenderness in the bottom of his eyes. It was very faint, and it was rare. It could be seen that Prince Chen was a person who could control his expression very well. Princess Yutao was a woman, so she had a woman's intuition. She just felt that Prince Chen didn't agree with Princess Chen. Maybe he gave all his tenderness to Princess Chen, so that he was cold-blooded and heartless to others. Seeing that Chu Luchen was still silent, Princess Yutao straightened her back again and said with a serious face, "This time in Dongsang country, my sister will definitely cause trouble. She is not a woman who can stay quiet. If she goes against Princess Chen, I will definitely help her." Women had their own places to socialize, but it was not a place that men could intervene. Okay. Chu Luchen finally gave in. "When will you let me see your Grand Shaman?" This Grand Shaman was quite interesting. If he had known this, he would have invited him to see him. He had seen this kind of person before. The abbot of Huaguang Temple was such a person. However, the abbot of Huaguang Temple was a cautious person. His words sounded specious, but he couldn't get a definite answer. He was not as good as this Grand Shaman of Su country. "There will be a chance in the future," Princess Yutao said with certainty. That was what the Grand Shaman said, so Princess Yutao certainly believed him. The rest of the journey was quite peaceful. Chu Luchen hurried along at will, and no one was stupid enough to go against his will. When he wanted to go on the road, he would go on the road, and when he wanted to rest, he would go on the road in the middle of the night. When he was in a bad mood, he would rest from noon to noon. Since Chu Qing came back from Su country, he had been very peaceful all the way. He stayed far away from Princess Yu Yan, as if they had nothing to do with each other. Princess Yu Yan was a beautiful woman. Although she was not as beautiful as Princess Yutao, she had her own gentleness, which made people have a good impression on her. Princess Yu Yan didn't care about Chu Qing, but appeared around Chu Luchen from time to time, which made the people accompanying them speculate. Of course, they guessed that this Princess Yu Yan had nothing to do with Chu Luchen. Qin Huayong was the busiest one. Although the things here had little to do with him, he was basically the one who maintained the journey all the way, so he was busier than anyone else in the team. They were busy here, but it was very peaceful. Prince Chen's mansion in the capital city couldn't be peaceful at this time. Many people had their eyes on Prince Chen's mansion. In the kitchen, fresh vegetables and meat were delivered early in the morning. They had to be fresh on the same day. The person who delivered the vegetables had been supplying the kitchen of Prince Chen's mansion and had been very careful for so many years. But in the past 2 days, the person who delivered the vegetables had changed. It was said that the previous person was sick and asked his nephew to take care of these things. The vegetables were delivered from the back door, and baskets of vegetables were sent in. When all the vegetables were delivered to the kitchen, a young man in his 20s, who was in short clothes, raised the paper in his hand and asked, "Where is the supervisor of the kitchen? Come here and check the goods and sign here." There were quite a lot of people in the kitchen, and they were all very busy. It was almost time to prepare breakfast. Many pots were opened and steaming hot. The people walking around were all busy with their own duties. "Hey, where is the supervisor of your kitchen? Come here and check the accounts. I still have something to do." Seeing that no one paid attention to him, the young man shook the paper in his hand and shouted, "Coming, coming." An old maid in her 50s shouted and came over. "What's the hurry? What's the hurry?" Chapter 1050. "I don't want to be in a hurry, but I got up so early in the morning, and I've only finished half of the work," the young man said impatiently. "Hey, How can you talk like that? The old maid in charge was unhappy. She put her hands on her hips and said, the person who delivered vegetables in the past didn't talk like that. Okay, I'm not good at talking. I'm busy, and I'm not as good as my uncle. Okay. The young man's paper slid in the air twice, and he looked more and more impatient. Come on, order the dishes and see if they are all good. The old maid in charge said loudly with a cold face. Several old maids and maids came over and poured out all the vegetables and meat in the basket, ready to count. Hey, do you know how to do things? The young man was unhappy. He pointed to the dishes that had been poured out and said loudly, the dishes are all over the ground. No matter how good they are, they have been turned over by you. Don't say that I didn't give you good things later. Were these things in the original good? The old maid in charge was not happy. She reached out and picked up a handful of celery. She pointed to it and said, this celery is not fresh. Look at the leaves. It must have been kept for 2 or 3 days. They are all gone. The young man snatched the celery from the old maid in charge and shouted, Auntie, what's wrong with you? Is this celery not good? When you poured it out just now, you crushed a few branches. How can you talk like this? You are trying to blackmail me. You don't admit it. The old maid in charge was really angry. She picked up another cabbage and gave it to the young man. The leaves outside are all rotten, but they haven't been removed. How can they be fresh? How can they not be fresh? It is clear that they have just been picked up from the ground and sent here before the outer layer is peeled off. Look at them, they are fresh with dew dripping on them. How can they not be fresh? There was indeed water dripping on them, but it was not dew at all. It was clearly water that had just been poured on them. Not only the old maid in charge was angry, but other people in the kitchen were also angry. How could they be so unreasonable? Did they really think that everyone was blind? This dish was clearly a few days ago, and most of it is rotten. This meat isn't good either. It's already smelly. How long has it been here? This fish is alive, but why is it so small? It looks half dead. It only moves a little when I touch it. It doesn't have much vitality. Is this chicken sick? Why is it so weak? It looks like it can't even stand properly. This duck is not good either. It's still having diarrhea. The people in the kitchen were all talking at once. The more the young man listened, the angrier he became. He suddenly threw the paper in his hand to the ground, stretched out his hand and pointed at the maids and old maids. Well, you did it on purpose, didn't you? Fine. You can go to the head steward of your mansion for this matter. He was the one who agreed to my uncle's matter, and he was also the one who approved of it. He had been doing a good job before, but now you're bullying me because I'm a newbie, right? Do you know how to do business? Look at these things. Which one is fresh? The steward of our inner yard said that you should pick some fresh ones. We can't accept these stale ones. The old maid steward put her hands on her hips and pointed at the dishes sent today. The steward of your inner yard is here to make trouble, isn't he? Did he take the initiative to make trouble because the head steward doesn't care about this kind of trifle in the inner yard? Would I send the stale ones here? We've been sending the dishes for so long. We're all so old and famous. Would we do this kind of thing? Let's go to your head steward now and ask for an explanation. The young man was so angry that his face turned blue and he said angrily. It was not dawn yet to see the head steward at this time. The head steward would not get up. Wasn't it asking for a scolding? The people in the kitchen quieted down for a while. They looked at each other, but no one dared to really go to the head steward. Seeing that the people in the kitchen had weakened, the young man still refused to stop and shouted, let's go. Why? Don't you dare to go? Now you know that you don't dare to go, but you bullied us just now. Now you're in the right. He picked up the paper thrown on the ground, waved it in front of the steward, and arrogantly shook it. Either sign or go to the head steward. Do as you see fit. Where did the troublemaker come from? Drive him away. A woman's calm voice suddenly came from behind the crowd. Miss Qingyue is here. It's Miss Qingyue. The crowd hurriedly retreated, and Qingyue walked over slowly. The young man didn't know Qingyue. He looked her up and down. Seeing that she was beautiful and wearing good clothes, she should be a well-known servant in this mansion. But a servant was a servant. The most powerful person in this mansion was naturally the head steward. What could a small servant girl do? Who's making trouble? Who's the troublemaker? I'm here to deliver the dishes. How did it become a troublemaker? The young man said disdainfully. He was really not afraid of making trouble. Or it could be said that he was here to make trouble, and it would be better if it was out of control. Take him out, and throw the dishes out too. Qingyue looked at the young man calmly and said lightly. She was the principal servant girl of Princess Chen. Nanny Yu had specially said that Qingyue was in charge of the kitchen affairs. No matter what she did, Princess Chen would take care of it, so she didn't have to be afraid. Hearing Qing Yu's words, two sturdy old maids immediately came over and dragged the young man out. The kitchen staff had strong hands, so the young man couldn't be steady even if he wanted to. He could only step back and yell, "You're too much. It's the butler who asked me to send the dishes to your mansion. You don't allow me to." It was still early, so his shouting could be heard very far. Cover his mouth, Qingyue said. Some people couldn't stand it anymore. Hearing Qingyue's words, someone took a wet rag and covered the young man's mouth. The greasy and wet feeling almost made him vomit on the spot. Then a few coarse old women and maids carried the vegetable basket he had brought in and threw it outside along with the basket. If you still want to deliver vegetables, hurry up and pick some fresh ones. Otherwise, you don't have to deliver vegetables anymore. Qing Yu stood at the back door and said coldly. The young man tore off the rag in his mouth, stared at Qing Yu with bloodshot eyes, and roared, "If you have the ability, go talk to the head steward. The head steward has the final say on the matter of delivering the vegetables. If you don't have the ability, don't come here and take a look at yourself. How dare you use this kind of thing to deal with the head steward? Close the door." Qing Yu ignored him and said to the old maid guarding the back door after entering. The old maid hurriedly answered and closed the door. No matter how loud the woman outside was, no one paid attention to her. Back to the kitchen, a kitchen maid, a housewife. The son looked at her, waiting for her to make a decision. I have sent people to buy fresh ingredients. They will be here in a while. You can cook breakfast later. I will talk to Wang Fei. It doesn't matter even if it's a little late. As long as it's fresh. If it's not fresh, send it to the Fu. If Wang Fei uses it, no one can bear the responsibility. Qing Yu knew what they were worried about and gave an order. Hearing that there would be fresh ingredients coming in a while, the people in the kitchen breathed a sigh of relief. The supervisor waved her hand and said, "Go do what you should do. Don't block here. It makes people worry." The others left in an uproar, but the supervisor didn't leave. She looked at Qing Yu and said hesitantly, "Miss Qing Yu, if the head steward asks, what should we do?" "It doesn't matter. The princess will deal with it," Qing Yu said calmly. The dishes were delivered very quickly. Xiao Wanru had already prepared it, so she didn't delay their breakfast. After breakfast, the head steward was invited into Xiao Wanru's courtyard. After entering the door, he bowed respectfully to Xiao Wanru. "Head steward, please sit down." Xiao Wanru stood up, bowed politely, and said softly. As the head steward of the former empress, he deserved Xiao Wanru's bow. "What can I do for you, Your Highness?" The head steward hurriedly returned the bow, sat down, and asked. When Princess Chen married into Prince Chen's mansion, he only saw her on the second day after she married. After that, he had no contact with her. When Prince Chen was here, the chief butler would ask Prince Chen to deal with all the affairs. When Prince Chen was not here, the chief butler would deal with them by himself and did not bother the princess. The head steward was originally a servant of the former empress. For Prince Chen and me, he is actually an elder. For so many years, the head steward has taken care of Prince Chen when he was outside. I'm here to thank the head steward on behalf of Prince Chen. Xiao Wanru bowed again. The head steward was so scared that he hurriedly turned aside and said, "Your Highness, this is my duty. How can I deserve your bow?" Head steward, you're too polite. You have been protecting Prince Chen for so many years. Now that Prince Chen is not here, I'm afraid that you have to protect the whole mansion. Xiao Wanru said with a wry smile. She sat down in a chair aside and invited the head steward to take a seat. After serving tea, Yu Jie and Chu Lu stepped aside. The head steward's face changed and he asked, "Your Highness, what happened?" He basically kept an eye on everything inside and outside the mansion. When Prince Chen left, he repeatedly ordered him to take care of the whole mansion. Of course, the most important thing was Princess Chen. The head steward had watched Chu Luchen grow up, so he knew his character best. Besides, with Xiao Xuanzi's advice, how could he not understand the importance of Princess Chen to Prince Chen? Head steward, to tell you the truth, someone is going to deal with our mansion, Xiao Wanru said softly. Your Highness, what did you find? I've been keeping a close watch outside. Didn't I find anything unusual? The head steward frowned. He thought that he had been keeping a close watch. Did he neglect anything? It's not outside. It's in our mansion. Someone wants to make us alienate and then take action against Prince Chen's mansion. Xiao Wanru looked at the head steward and said bluntly. When the head steward entered the door just now, his attitude was respectful and his tone was kind, which made her feel half relieved. At least the head steward was not a person who preyed on his seniority, which made it much easier to deal with. Chapter 1051. Chief Butler, do you know who the prince will bring to the Su country this time? Xiao Wanru asked calmly. The chief butler's eyes flickered slightly, and he misunderstood her meaning. Don't worry, Your Highness. The princess of the Su country will not marry the prince when she comes to the capital city. It has nothing to do with the prince. He thought that Xiao Wanru was jealous, so he hurriedly explained. I know this, but others don't know it. There are also people who want to use this matter to probe the prince's background. Xiao Wanru said with a soft smile. The chief butler had met many people in the imperial palace and had experienced the previous dynasty, so he was not ignorant. At this time, he was shocked by Xiao Wanru's words. After thinking carefully, he immediately stood up, bowed to Xiao Wanru, and said with sincere admiration, Your Highness, I think too little. This bow was sincere and sincere. He had been respectful because of the prince, but now he saw Princess Chen, so he bowed sincerely because of Princess Chen. People like him, who had reached the end step by step in the imperial palace, were very clever. He immediately heard the important point in Xiao Wanru's words, which he had ignored. Chief Butler, you are too polite. Please sit down. Xiao Wanru said with a smile. The head butler sat down again. Princess, this old servant has thought about the safety of the prince's mansion and asked people to pay close attention to the safety of the prince's mansion. I even specially sent more people to pay more attention to the people around Princess. I am afraid that there is a problem with Princess's safety. To be honest, if Princess wants to go out during this time, this old servant will also come to persuade you. At present, the chief butler felt that Princess Chen was very reliable. No matter who wanted to harm Princess Chen in the mansion, it would be impossible. As for outside, during this period of time, before the prince returned to the mansion, the chief butler tried his best to prevent Princess Chen from going out. If Princess Chen really wanted to go out, he would also come to persuade her and even explain the current situation of Princess Chen so that Princess Chen could think about it carefully. He didn't expect that this little princess was so smart. She had already thought about what he thought, and she had already thought about what he didn't think about. On the contrary, he, who had experienced many hardships, didn't see through it. He couldn't help feeling ashamed and became more respectful to Xiao Wanru. No wonder Xiao Xuanzi repeatedly told her that this princess was an exquisite person. She originally thought that he had gone too far, but now it seemed that he had not gone too far and said too little. "Thank you, head butler." Before Prince left, he repeatedly told me that I was young and inexperienced. If there was anything, I should ask you, head butler. He must not let outsiders take advantage of the loophole and cause big misunderstandings or even alienation because of some small things, Xiao Wanru said. She was also very satisfied with this head butler. Wang Fei, is there a small matter in the food that has caused Wang Fei to worry? After thinking for a while, the chief butler immediately understood the meaning of Xiao Wanru's words and asked with a frown. At the same time, he increasingly felt that he had been negligent. He only paid attention to the safety outside but neglected the affairs in the mansion. In the past, there was no master in the inner court. As long as she dealt with the affairs in the mansion well, she could be regarded as guarding the whole mansion. As for Prince, she didn't need to worry about it. Prince was a sincere master and a precocious one. Outsiders only saw that she protected Prince when he grew up, but they didn't know that it was Prince who protected her as early as when Prince became a governor. At that time, she had made a lot of enemies in the palace, so she had better serve the Empress first. When she was the chief supervisor, it was not obvious. When she was in a disadvantageous position, many people secretly trampled on her. If it weren't for Prince who had been protecting her and preventing others from attacking her, her old bones would have withered long ago. Now she had gained both benefits and fame. Even if the Empress Dowager occasionally rewarded her in the palace, she always got a share. There is a disturbance in the kitchen. It is said that the person who delivered the vegetables was sick and asked his nephew to deliver the vegetables, but his nephew was not very good. The vegetables he delivered were all bad. He even went to the kitchen to make trouble, shouting that it was the job given by the head butler and asked the kitchen staff to talk to the head butler. Since the head butler was a sensible person, Xiao Wanru said bluntly. The person who delivered the vegetables. The head butler was stunned for a moment and didn't remember it for a moment. A servant behind the head butler reminded him, "Head butler, I have heard of the servant who delivered the vegetables. It seems that it has something to do with your time in the palace." Hearing the servant's words, the head butler finally remembered it and nodded repeatedly, "Yes, yes, it has something to do with me." The person who delivered the vegetables was the nephew of a eunuch who served the late empress at that time. At that time, he died because of the late empress, so he asked me to take care of his descendants. After he left the palace, I asked him to help the kitchen deliver vegetables. It has been more than 10 years. This matter had happened so long ago that the head butler couldn't even remember it. There was actually such a thing. No wonder he came to the kitchen to deliver the vegetables. Xiao Wanru already knew in her heart, "Head butler, do you still remember this person's character?" "I remember that he is a good person. At that time, I saw that he was honest, so I asked him to deliver the vegetables to the kitchen. In the beginning, I would check on him by myself, and he was always good. Later, I let the kitchen check on him. After that, I haven't heard anyone report anything wrong. I think he is good." The head butler thought for a while and said, "Head butler, send someone to have a look. Maybe something has happened to this person." Xiao Wanru narrowed her watery eyes slightly and reminded him. Since there was nothing wrong with this person, there must be something wrong with him if he fell ill for no reason. At present, the person who delivered the vegetables was obviously a troublemaker. "I will check on it later." The head butler nodded, knowing that there might be an accident. "The food that was delivered this morning is not good, so I asked Qing Yu to drive them out. Calculating the time, it should be in front of the head steward now. Although I don't see the head steward often, I know that he is a clever man. Now I will entrust this matter to the head steward. I hope the head steward can find out who is behind this," Xiao Wanru said. The head butler was smart and respectful to her, so it was easy for him to talk about this matter. If it was someone who was biased against her and wanted to suppress her with his identity, it would be difficult to deal with this matter. The current situation was the best one. Your Highness, I know. The head butler understood tacitly. Head butler, if you need Qingyu later, you can also bring Qingyu over. Xiao Wanru said meaningfully with her watery eyes slightly raised and a gentle and kind smile. Sure enough, people who were not of the same family tended to be of the same family. The head butler felt that the pure and kind smile on the princess's face was very familiar, and it was exactly the same as the smile on his master's face. It was not pure and kind at all. It was obviously scheming against others. Thinking of his master who had a kind face but a black heart, the head butler's heart trembled. He suddenly felt that the delicate little princess in front of him was probably not a kind person. But it was good that she was not a kind person. If the members of the royal family were really kind, they would not know how they died. It was good that she was not a kind person. The head butler left the backyard with a smile and smiled all the way. He was in a good mood. He had been worried that the princess that the prince married was too young and ignorant. Now it seemed that the princess and the prince were really a match made in heaven. After exiting the drooping flower gate, the head butler's smile disappeared and his face darkened. He walked out with the manservant with a dignified expression. Halfway there, he saw a manservant running over with a head full of sweat. Head butler, you're here. Someone came to look for you just now. He's very anxious and has asked you several times. Who is it? The head butler frowned and asked. I heard that it is a chef who delivers food from the kitchen and asks you to make decisions for him. I don't know what is going on and I am confused. The servant trotted after him and reported. Where did he say I went before? Sure enough, the princess guessed correctly. The head butler was delighted, but he did not show it on his face. He strode forward and asked. It was the head butler's order. Of course, I did not tell him where you went. I only said that the head butler had not gotten up yet and went to bed late last night. The servant wiped the sweat on his head and said. When people came to look for the head butler, if the head butler was not available, he would always say that he had something to do, but he would not tell others the specific matters. This time, seeing that it was still early, he deliberately changed the reason. Okay, then let's go and have a look. The head butler nodded and followed the servant all the way out. After turning a few yards, he saw a young man in his 20s standing in front of the road at the intersection. He was pacing around in circles. When he saw the head steward coming out, his eyes immediately lit up. He hurriedly rushed over and knelt in front of the head steward. He kowtowed to the head steward 3 times and said, Head steward, I beg you to seek justice for me. After saying that, he cried with grievance. There were 2 baskets behind him, which were full of vegetables and meat. There was even a chicken that was moving vigorously, as if it wanted to shake off all the vegetables on it. It was really vigorous. There was also a fish, which was swaying on the surface of the vegetables. From time to time, it jumped up and swung its tail, making a loud sound. What's going on? The head butler stopped, looked at the situation with his hands behind his back and asked. I don't know what's going on. Today, when I delivered the vegetables, the people in the kitchen either criticized the chicken for being sick, or said that the fish was dying and the vegetables were not fresh. But these were obviously good. If you don't believe me, you can ask someone to have a look. If there is a trace of something wrong with these things, I will accept all the punishments. The young man wiped his tears and said, My uncle has been sick these days, so he asked me to help deliver the vegetables for a few days. But the people in the kitchen are bullying me, pointing at me and saying that this is not good, that is not good. I was so angry that I wanted to find the head butler to judge, but they were not willing to do so, so they found a girl called Miss Chinua to punish me. They threw me out together with the basket, and the vegetables were all spoiled, and some spoiled ones. I dare not bring them in to show the head butler, so I only asked the head butler to make a decision. As he said that, he bowed to the head butler heavily, and his wronged voice was lost in sorrow. Chapter 1052. Remember in 1 second, 800 mail sign small/say net wonderful pop-up window free reading. The vegetables and meat in front of him were indeed very good. No matter how picky a person was, he couldn't say that the chicken was sick, and the fish was dying. They were clearly excellent food. Looking at the young man in front of him, he also had a face full of grievance and anger. It was obvious that he had been bullied. That's right, he had been slapped in the face. Of course, the one slapped was the head butler's face. Not to mention that she was the descendant of an old acquaintance. The head butler's face darkened and he looked terrible. Did the kitchen really say that? Head butler, I really did say that. If what I said was false, then let me be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. The young man wiped away his tears and swore a venomous oath. This seemed to be true. Several servants in the outer yard couldn't help but get angry. They were all servants of the head butler, and they trusted the head butler in the past. How could they not be angry when they saw the kitchen treat the head butler's servants so coldly? Head butler, I'll go ask the steward in the kitchen. Butler, that Qingyue is the princess's dowry. This is too presumptuous. Even when His Highness was still around, this kind of affairs in the outer court was managed by the chief steward. A few of the manservants said indignantly, one after another. The head butler waved his hand, and all the manservants immediately shut their mouths. Go and ask Qingyu to come over, the butler ordered lightly. Yes, your servant will go now. A quick-witted manservant answered and ran inside. Thank you, head butler. Thank you, head butler. Actually, this is also my fault. If I had given it away at that time, this wouldn't have happened, the young man murmured as he kowtowed gratefully to the head butler. What is it? A manservant asked. This. The young man realized that he had misspoken. He looked around, feeling a little uneasy because there were so many people around. Bring him here, the butler said, turning around and walking to an empty courtyard on the side. Immediately, a manservant reminded the young people to keep up, while the others dispersed. The head butler did not enter the main room. He only sat down in front of the stone table in the courtyard. He looked at the young man who had followed him in with a deep gaze. He tapped his fingers on the stone table twice and said, Tell me, what other secrets are there? There were only the head butler and his two trusted servants in the courtyard. The young man looked around and suddenly took out a small brocade box from his bosom and handed it over. Head butler, take a look at this. A manservant took it and placed it on the stone table in front of the butler. The butler was not in a hurry to open it. Instead, he looked the young man up and down. This is what they asked you for in the backyard? Yes, in fact, it's my fault. When I came to deliver the vegetables, I was seen by someone. Today, when I came to deliver the vegetables again, someone asked me for this thing. I didn't give it to him, so that person sneered and left. He said that if I didn't give it to him, then don't think about delivering the vegetables properly. After that, when I delivered the vegetables to the kitchen, that happened. Who asked you for it? The head butler said calmly. I don't know. She looked very ordinary. She was just an ordinary old maid. I didn't know if she was from the mansion. At that time, I was still suspicious. But I accidentally dropped it when I was delivering the vegetables. At that time, I saw people from the mansion, and they even threatened me, not allowing me to deliver the vegetables properly. The young man thought about it and smiled bitterly. In fact, I didn't care about it before. Maybe it had nothing to do with the mansion, and I was worried. So I kept this thing in my bosom. I didn't think that someone really wanted this thing from me and framed me. The young man felt more and more wronged. The head butler did not ask any more questions. His eyes fell on the brocade box that looked very old. This kind of brocade box was rarely seen in the outside world, but it was not rare in the palace. It could even be said to be very common. Now that it had been stained with the passage of time, it looked a lot older. There was even a lock hanging on the corner, which was a bit rusty. What is this? The head butler asked in a deep voice. I don't know either. It was given to me by my uncle. He said that it was passed down from my ancestors. My uncle was seriously ill before, so he gave it to me. I happened to take it with me that day, but it was seen by people in the mansion. I didn't know what was in it. I wanted to go back and have a look, but my uncle said that I was not allowed to see it. As the young man spoke, he took out a key from his bosom and handed it over respectfully. There was a brocade box and a lock. If it weren't for Xiao Wanru, the head butler would definitely open it at this time to see what was going on and ask about it. However, at this time, he did not open it rashly. He just looked at it casually, weighed it in his hand, and looked at the lock on it. It seemed that the lock had not been opened for many years, and the embroidery had become lumps. If he opened the lock, the rust below would definitely be damaged. The lock should not have been opened for many years. Do you mean that someone in the mansion recognized this brocade box and thought that there was something good in it, so he wanted to get it from you? The head butler asked. Well, I don't know. In fact, if it weren't for my uncle's repeated reminders, it would be okay to give it away. The young man scratched his scalp and said uneasily, looking very frightened and at a loss. My uncle also said that if something happened, he asked me to come to you and said that the head butler would definitely protect me. The head butler was a sentimental person. Let's call it a day. Qingyue is the princess's maid. You can come to deliver vegetables as usual in the future. I've also sent someone to the kitchen. The head butler said. Thank you, head butler. Thank you, head butler. Fortunately, you are here. Otherwise, I don't know where to go to plead for you. It turns out that it's the princess, it turns out that it's the princess's maid. I. The young man was grateful and panicked. Anyone who had offended the princess would feel panicked. But now that he had said these words, coupled with what he had said before, it was very likely that people would have a different kind of consideration. Besides the head butler, the princess was the only one who could be omnipotent in the mansion and could also mobilize the people in the kitchen. Since it was not the head butler's order, it must be the princess's idea. The head butler's eyes fell on the brocade box and he began to think. The young man did not dare to speak and quietly accompanied the head butler. Not long after, Qingyue came with a servant. After entering the door, she bowed to the head butler and said, Qingyue greets the head butler. Are you Qingyue? The head butler looked at Qingyue up and down. He was not familiar with the servant girls in the inner yard of the princess and Qingyue rarely went out of the inner yard. I am Qingyue, Qingyue said naturally. Have you seen this person before? The head butler pointed at the young man who delivered the vegetables. Qingyue turned her head to look at him and nodded. Qingyue has seen him before. He came to deliver vegetables to the head butler. Damn it, not only did the food he delivered was not good, but he also quarreled with the people in the kitchen. His attitude was arrogant and domineering. Qingyue asked someone to throw his vegetables out and asked him to prepare new vegetables. Otherwise, he is not allowed to deliver vegetables in the future. Do you know that it is also the prince's idea for him to deliver vegetables here? The head butler said with a displeased expression. Qingyue doesn't know. Qingyue only knows that his vegetables are not good. I can't let the master of the mansion eat these bad dishes and hurt her body. Qingyue answered. Her calm and indifferent attitude angered the head butler. He slammed the table heavily and said sternly, she is just a little servant girl. It's better not to interfere in some things. Guards, take her away and give her 10 strokes of the rod. Then send her back to the inner yard. Head butler, Her Highness also knows about this. Seeing that 2 servants came over and really wanted to take her away, Qingyue became anxious and said hurriedly. It really is the princess. The young man who delivered the vegetables looked shocked. Even if she is the princess, when His Highness is not in the mansion, she still has to discuss it with me. You are just a little servant girl. How dare you casually interfere in the affairs of the prince's mansion by relying on the princess's power? The head butler became more and more annoyed and scolded. The 2 servants dragged Qingyue down the stairs, one on each side. Qingyue shouted anxiously, "Head butler, I am the servant girl of the princess. Of course, the princess will punish me. You are just a steward of the outer yard. You can't interfere with the affairs of the inner yard." In the end, his voice was blocked. He must have been gagged. "Head butler, this is really related to the princess. How about, give this box to the princess?" The young man who delivered the vegetables knelt down in panic and begged. This matter was about to get out of hand. He was just a vegetable delivery man. Even if he had been holding back his anger and made a scene in front of the head butler, he didn't dare to make a scene at this time. It was the princess who was involved, not other people in the mansion. He was just a small vegetable delivery man, and he had to obey others. How dare he really go against the princess? Does the princess want this box? The head butler's eyes became gloomy, and there was a trace of fierceness at the bottom of his eyes. As a person who had been the head butler in the palace, his aura was naturally different from that of ordinary stewards. I don't know. It may not be the princess. It may be the princess who wants it on behalf of her elders, or it may be the princess. The young man who delivered the vegetables stammered and couldn't go on. He just looked at the head butler and begged, "Head butler, please give the box to the princess. Please." He seemed to be frightened and didn't dare to make trouble again. The head butler sneered in his heart. This guy was good at acting. If he didn't mention the princess and the princess's elders from time to time, he would be more like the princess. If it weren't for the fact that he had talked to the princess before, he would have fallen into the trap. He was old. He was really old. He had lived a peaceful life in Prince Chen's mansion for so many years and even lost his vigilance. That was why he almost let others take advantage of him. These people referred not only to the princess, but also to Rui, and great elder princess. If such an old box had something to do with the princess, it would be better to say that it had something to do with the princess's elders. Among the princess's elders, only Rui, and great elder princess could easily have something to do with the palace. This was a series of traps. Starting from the smallest thing, it would make people unconsciously investigate it. Leading him by the nose. The head butler's eyes fell on the brocade box. This brocade box was a little similar to the one in his memory. Chapter 1053. The brocade box in his memory was a box that couldn't be seen by others. The chief butler's heart skipped a beat, and his horrified eyes fell on a very small gap in the corner of the brocade box. His eyes suddenly froze. It was the brocade box that the former empress had lost. It was indeed the brocade box. The former empress's warning seemed to be ringing in his ears when she lost the box. Don't open that brocade box. Even if you get it, don't open it. If you open it and the emperor knows, you will die. This brocade box had disappeared from the former empress's palace. After that, the former empress called him over and warned him carefully with a pale face. She told him that even if he saw this box in the future, he should pretend that he didn't see it and must not open it. The emperor would not be willing to let others know what was inside. If someone knew and opened it without permission, he would die. The chief butler's forehead began to sweat. It turned out that their target was actually him. If the princess hadn't reminded him, he would have forgotten such an old thing. If he opened this brocade box now, everything before was an illusion, and what was happening now was the real thing. Not only him, but also the princess might send it to her. The princess didn't know what had happened in the past. If it was sent to her, she would definitely open it, and even the princess would be implicated. At the thought of this possibility, the chief butler's back was soaked with cold sweat. The entire Prince Chen's mansion would almost be implicated. "Chief butler, the imperial guards from the palace are here." A servant ran in, followed by several imperial guards. They were the emperor's personal guards, and even the empress couldn't order them. His silver armor gleamed and his gaze was sharp. As soon as the commander of the imperial guards entered the room, his gaze fell on the brocade box on the table. With a wave of his hand, several imperial guards immediately surrounded the chief butler. "Your Excellency, what can I do for you in Prince Chen's mansion? The chief butler composed himself, hurriedly stood up, and asked with a smile. Where did this brocade box come from? The leader of the Imperial Guards pointed at the brocade box and said. He sent it. The chief butler pointed at the young man who delivered the vegetables and said, but didn't say the details. Did you open it? The leader of the Imperial Guards stared coldly at the head butler. His hand was on the scabbard of his sword, and there was a faint murderous aura. I haven't opened it yet. I just feel that it's very strange for this person to give me such an embroidered box. This item seems to be something from the palace, so I don't dare to casually open it, the head butler said calmly. Although his eyes were calm, one could see that he was very puzzled. The leader of the Imperial Guards carefully looked at the chief butler from head to toe and did not find anything unusual about him. It seemed that he had indeed received a somewhat suspicious brocade box, so he was not in a hurry to open it. He was a cautious person. It was said that the chief butler of Princess Chen was the chief butler of the late Empress. He was indeed different from ordinary people. He was so cautious. No wonder he could work in Prince Chen's mansion. The leader of the Imperial Guards turned his gaze to the young man who delivered the vegetables. Did you send this brocade box? It's from me. The young man who delivered the vegetables also felt that something was wrong and stuttered. Where did you come from? The leader of the Imperial Guards asked coldly. It's passed down from my ancestors. My ancestors served the late Empress, little eunuch. The young man who delivered the vegetables took a step back in panic. He looked around and his eyes fell on the head butler with a pleading look. Didn't you see it passed down from my ancestors? The leader of the Imperial Guards asked again as if he did not see his panicked eyes. No, I heard that my ancestors don't allow future generations to see it. Seeing that the head butler also did not say a word, the young man who delivered the vegetables became more and more panicked. How could he finish his words? My ancestors Come on, take him away. The leader of the Imperial Guards waved his hand. Immediately 2 Imperial Guards came over, one on the left and one on the right, pulling the young man who delivered the vegetables away. Your Excellency. The young man who delivered the vegetables was anxious and immediately wanted to plead for mercy. He was still puzzled. Why did such a thing happen? That person had clearly promised him that as long as he did as he said, he would be rewarded heavily in the future. What was the matter with this disaster now? The 2 slaps made him spit blood from the corners of his eyes, blacked out, and unable to speak. Then, in a daze, he was dragged out like a dead dog. The courtyard became quiet. The leader of the Imperial Guards took a few steps forward and took the brocade box in his hand. After looking at it carefully for a few times, the look on his face relaxed. It could be seen that this rust mark had not been opened for more than 10 years. Head butler, I'm sorry. I came in a hurry and disturbed you. His Majesty heard that there were remnants of the previous dynasty who secretly wanted to murder Princess Chen when Prince Chen was not here. His Majesty specially asked me to come here. If I disturbed you, please forgive me. The leader of the Imperial Guards showed a polite smile on his face. Your Excellency, you're too polite. Since it is the remnants of the previous dynasty, we should catch them. Our prince is not here, so the safety of princess is in the hands of us servants. If anything happens to princess, we can't absolve ourselves of the guilt even if we die 10,000 times. The security in the mansion is indeed a little weak. Since your Excellency is here, please check it out. The head butler took a step back in order to advance. He took a step back, waved his hand behind him, and said with a smile. No matter who did this to Prince Chen's mansion today, it would not be easy to investigate. He originally thought that it was the one who sent the spoils, but now it seemed that this spoils was just a useless pawn. At this time, he was casually abandoned by others. There was nothing better than letting others check it out generously to prove his innocence. Prince Chen is not at home, and now there is only Princess Chen alone. It is not convenient for us to check it out. The leader of the Imperial Guards hesitated. If it was another prince's mansion, he might really check it out. But now it was Prince Chen's mansion, and Prince Chen was the most favored in the eyes of the emperor. If he came back and knew about this in the future, he was afraid that he would not be kind to him. Your Excellency, since you are here, please check it out. If you don't check it out, we will not be at ease, the head butler said earnestly. This, Your Excellency, please check it out. If you find out who is against Prince Chen's mansion, you can let us make preparations first. Now our princess is alone in the mansion, and it is really not safe, the head butler said again. Seeing that he repeatedly asked him, the leader of the Imperial Guards was a little tempted. If he really checked it out, it would naturally be the best. Then, the leader of the Imperial Guards was about to agree, but he saw another Imperial Guard pull his sleeve. The leader of the Imperial Guards immediately came to his senses and hurriedly shook his hand and said, "Since it has nothing to do with your Prince Chen's mansion, then forget it. Arrange your own people in the mansion to protect Princess Chen. We can't let anything happen to Princess Chen." Their so-called remaining evil of the previous dynasty was actually an excuse, and the purpose was this brocade box. Someone reported that he saw a person take the brocade box to Princess Chen, and it was the brocade box that the former empress had lost more than 10 years ago. The emperor was furious, so he sent someone here and told the leader of the Imperial Guards that if anyone saw it, he would kill them. If it was Princess Chen who saw it, he would also ask someone to keep Princess Chen under surveillance and wait for the emperor's new instructions. If they really searched Prince Chen's mansion now, when Prince Chen came back, he would definitely not stop. This master looked weak, but in fact, he was cruel and merciless. The people in the Imperial Guards had suffered a lot from Prince Chen. When they entered Prince Chen's mansion just now, several of them couldn't help but think that it was fortunate that Prince Chen was not here. Otherwise, none of them who rushed into Prince Chen's mansion would have a good ending. The matter had been settled, and no one had opened the brocade box, so there would be no conflict with Prince Chen's mansion. That was the best result. How could there be more problems? It would be best if nothing happened to him. After saying that, the leader of the Imperial Guards left with the brocade box. The head butler saw them off from behind. When they reached the main gate, he realized that there were more than just the few Imperial Guards that he had seen. There was another group of people waiting outside. Every one of them had a fierce look in their eyes, which was not something ordinary guards could compare to. The Imperial Guards went back to the mansion to report. The chief butler saw them off at the gate with a smile. However, when they disappeared, his face changed dramatically and he hurried to the inner courtyard. He ordered the servant to report the matter of the Imperial Guard's visit to the mansion to Xiao Wanru first, and then he followed. The chief butler had approved of Xiao Wanru before, so at this time, he naturally had to discuss something with Xiao Wanru. Such a matter was no longer something that he, a butler's servant, could solve. Even though he, a servant, used to be the chief butler in the palace, he did not dare to go against Xiao Wanru at this time. Just now, when the leader of the Imperial Guards came in, his murderous look clearly showed that the emperor had given an order. After that, he left because the brocade box was not opened, and he almost lost his life. Thinking of this, the chief butler felt a chill in his heart and continued to sweat. Xiao Wanru got the message from the servant first. When she heard about the brocade box, she was very surprised. Although she had guessed that someone was secretly plotting against her mansion, it was not easy to do something big, so she had to start with small things. However, she did not expect that this small brocade box seemed to have a big background, and it was related to the emperor, which really made her feel frightened. Originally, it was just a guess. She thought that these things would be revealed one by one, but she did not expect that things would change so quickly. Fortunately, the chief butler was cautious, otherwise the matter might have been exposed at this time. The chief butler came very quickly. When the servant told him the matter in detail, the chief butler had already come over. After asking someone to report to Xiao Wanru, the chief butler waited outside the corridor. It didn't take long for Xiao Wanru to invite the chief butler Indiana. All the other maids left, leaving only Yujie and Chu Lu, her two trusted subordinates. Looking at the chief butler's pale face, Xiao Wanru frowned slightly. She did not play dumb and directly asked, "Chief butler, do you know about the brocade box? Is someone trying to kill us?" Chapter 1054. Your Highness, someone does want to deal with us. If we open it rashly, it will inevitably cause a disaster. The chief butler lowered his head, and a trace of imperceptible panic flashed across his eyes. Even though he had been the chief butler of the former empress, the brocade box still shocked him. Xiao Wanru had been paying attention to the chief butler. Seeing the panic in his eyes, her heart suddenly skipped a beat, and she asked slowly, "Even the prince can't save us?" "If the prince is here, he may be able to save you, but now he is not here," the chief butler said implicitly without mentioning himself at all. Of course, he meant that even if Chu Luqian wanted to save him, he couldn't, and this was under the circumstance that Chu Luqian was in the mansion. In the current situation, even Xiao Wanru was in danger. Xiao Wanru took a deep breath. She did want to inquire about the brocade box, but now she immediately gave up this idea. The brocade box was so dangerous that she gave up decisively. "Chief butler, what do you think will happen next?" Xiao Wanru stopped paying attention to the brocade box and changed the topic. The chief butler was relieved. The princess was smart, but she was young. He was afraid that she couldn't help being curious and continued to inquire about it. There were some things he knew, and some things he didn't know. But no matter what he knew, it was wrong for the princess to inquire about it at this time. If someone with ulterior motives heard about it, he was not sure what kind of rumors would be spread. It was indeed the best and least suspicious way not to inquire about it at this time. "Rest assured, Your Highness. At least we can be stable for a period of time now," the chief butler said. Such a thing had attracted the attention of the emperor. Although the imperial guards did not come in to check the mansion before, they had indicated that their mansion had been targeted by the emperor's imperial guards. Whoever dared to deal with the prince's mansion at this time would be noticed by the emperor. The person who delivered the brocade box should be an abandoned pawn. No matter how we investigate, we won't find anything. The person who delivered the brocade box first was the nephew of a eunuch in the palace. He was loyal to the former empress and died for the former empress. The brocade box should have nothing to do with him. At most, it's related to his nephew. Your Highness, I think it's better to send someone to investigate him at this time, the chief butler continued. He acted like he didn't know. Now that there was the matter of the brocade box, since he did not know about it, it was a separate problem. As the host, it was reasonable for him to send someone to inquire about it. "Thank you for your trouble, head butler. Head butler, please handle this matter in the usual way." Xiao Wanru nodded and did not ask the chief butler specifically how to do it. This was a matter of the outer court. Since the chief butler did it normally, he had his own set of procedures. She didn't know that if she interfered, it would only ruin things. "Don't worry, princess. I understand." The head butler nodded. This was indeed the best thing to do at this time, but it was also the most confusing. Xiao Wanru thought for a while and said, "I won't go out recently, and I'll inform my maternal grandma. If anyone comes to invite me in the future, you can also refuse them and say that I'm ill." "Princess, you mean?" The head butler didn't understand at first, but after thinking about it carefully, his eyes lit up. He looked at the little princess in front of him with great admiration. She was so young, but she could be so mature. She was really amazing to be able to keep calm. "Everything in our mansion is as usual, but only Your Highness is not in good health." Xiao Wanru saw that he understood what she meant, so she said with a soft smile, "It's just a little discomfort. There's no need to alarm the imperial physician, and there's no need to go out to find a doctor." "Princess, I understand." The head butler nodded repeatedly. At this time, he was sincerely convinced by Xiao Wanru. "Let's not do anything. Even if there are some things, it's a small matter. Let's see who can't bear it first," Xiao Wanru said meaningfully. This matter had come to an end for the time being. As long as the next matter was not in Prince Chen's mansion, it had nothing to do with her. She just needed to wait for Chu Liuchen's return. Under the intentional comfort of Xiao Wanru and the head butler, this matter was suppressed to the minimum in Prince Chen's mansion. The people in the mansion only knew that the young man who delivered the vegetables was arrogant. He only helped his uncle deliver the vegetables for 2 days, but he offended the master. After that, they didn't ask him to deliver the vegetables anymore. It was said that this person was also the nephew of the previous person who delivered the vegetables. The first person who delivered the vegetables was indeed sick. The servants in the mansion also heard that the imperial guards came to find the remnants of the previous dynasty, but they didn't take it seriously. They just came to ask about it, and then left. They even took away the young man who delivered the vegetables and was full of lies, which saved Prince Chen's mansion a lot of trouble. The whole Prince Chen's mansion was calm and everything was in order. There was no reaction in Prince Chen's mansion, but there was an undercurrent in the capital city. Many people were secretly worried. It seemed to be a simple matter, but many people intervened in it. In a remote and empty meditation room in Yuyan Temple, Master Jian, the abbot of Yuyan Temple, sat under a chair by the side window with his palms together and a bad look. Prince Cheng, who looked even worse, slammed his hand on the table so hard that several cups on the table jumped up. He said, "How could this be? Didn't you say that we would definitely succeed this time? As long as the brocade box is opened in Prince Chen's mansion, we will definitely be able to deal with Princess Chen. What's going on now? How could he not be furious? He'd obtained this brocade box with great difficulty, and he'd been keeping it for so many years because he'd wanted to use it at the most appropriate time. However, not only had he failed to obtain any effect, he'd even wasted a trump card in his possession." Master Jian opened his eyes slowly and said, "Your Highness, have you found out that Princess Chen is fine?" "I've found out that the butler of Prince Chen's mansion is fine. He appeared in front of everyone and even went to find the person who delivered food to their mansion. He has been like this for so many years. How could he be fine?" Prince Cheng said angrily. He did not have many trump cards like this in his hands. Now it was useless and it was wasted. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. The butler of Prince Chen's mansion is fine, but it doesn't mean that Princess Chen is fine. Master Jian did not believe that it was really useless, so he reminded Prince Cheng, "Your Highness, can we consider it from another aspect? The butler is fine, which means that he did not open the brocade box, but send it to Princess Chen. No matter how smart Princess Chen is, she is still young. Do you mean that something has happened to Princess Chen?" Prince Cheng's eyes lit up and his anger immediately subsided. "Your Highness, do you think it is possible that something has happened to Princess Chen? But this matter can't be known by others. If it has something to do with the emperor in the palace, the butler of Prince Chen's mansion doesn't dare to show any strange expression. He has been in the palace for so long and could become the butler of the former empress, so he has good judgment." Master Jian thought for a while and analyzed. Hearing this, Prince Cheng nodded repeatedly and said, "What you said makes some sense. He is just an old fox. He doesn't dare to disobey the emperor's order and his usual behavior is also pretending. If it is really like this, I'm afraid that something bad has happened to Princess Chen. But this is just our guess and we can't take it seriously." Prince Cheng's last sentence came back to the point. Although he did not think that Princess Chen could avoid it, it was too quiet in Prince Chen's mansion at the moment, as if nothing had happened, so he was really worried. "Your Highness, you'd better not take action rashly now. I am afraid that the Emperor has already paid attention to Prince Chen's mansion. No matter whether something has happened to Princess Chen or not, the Imperial Guards have already taken action that day. If you want to find out what happened to Princess Chen at this time, I am afraid that it will attract the Emperor's attention." Master Jian shook his head and thought that it was not the right time. "I know, but what if someone comes to ask to see Princess Chen, and it is a person who has to see her?" Prince Cheng knocked his hand on the table and said slowly. "Your Highness, you'd better not take action at this time. You have waited for so many years, so why are you in such a hurry? Anyway, you are not the only one who is anxious this time, and you are not the one who takes action this time. It is not necessary for you to arouse suspicion at this time. If the emperor suspects you, it will be a big deal. Master Jian said meaningfully. Prince Chen was not those princes. If he was really found to have an ulterior motive, the emperor would definitely take action against him immediately and would not show mercy. Okay, then let's wait a little longer and focus on Prince Zhou's mansion. It was he who sent this box to the Empress, so the person who directly took action should be related to Prince Zhou's mansion. It is the best that your highness can think so. Master Jian breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that Prince Cheng would not listen to his advice and really take action rashly. In Prince Zhou's mansion, Chu Liuzhou was also angrily smashing his cup. There was only one other person in the study besides him, who was his uncle and the Empress's second brother, Ji Lingzhen. Your Highness, the Empress told you not to let others see anything. You should do what you should do and don't be too close to Prince Chen's mansion. Ji Lingzhen advised. He wasn't the eldest son and didn't inherit the title of nobility. Usually, he was just an idle servant. Usually, he didn't look like a successful person, but in fact, he was always by Prince Zhou's side to help him make plans. Second uncle, didn't you say that this matter would inevitably cause chaos? Why is nothing happening now? Chu Liuzhou had always been bad-tempered. At this time, he felt more and more aggrieved. He felt that this kind of thing did not even cause a ripple, but his mother said it was so powerful before. This kind of thing was not as good as doing it with real knives and guns. If you wanted to make Princess Chen disappear in Prince Chen's mansion, the best way was to kidnap her or kill her. Now such a big thing seemed to be very powerful, but there was not even a ripple, which really made people feel that it was a joke. No, I have to find someone to ask about this. I can't just wait like this. Chu Liuzhou stood up and said to the outside, "Come in." Your Highness, I'm here. A servant immediately came in at the door and said respectfully after saluting. Chapter 1055. Your Highness, please wait a minute. Ji Lingzhen hurriedly stood up and reached out to stop him. Your Highness, don't you think about what the Empress said? Thinking of the Empress's words, Chu Liuzhou was relieved. He waved his hand helplessly and said, "Leave." Yes. The servant hurriedly left. Second uncle, what should I do now? My mother told me not to do anything and just wait. But how can I get anything by waiting like this? Chu Luqian is coming to the capital city. Chu Liuzhou swung his sleeves impatiently and said. Your Highness, don't worry. I think you should be more patient at this time. You can't let others find out that you and the Empress want to do this. Although Ji Lingzhen was his uncle, he didn't dare to put on airs in front of Chu Liuzhou, so he could only persuade him softly. My mother asked me to wait all the time. If I keep waiting, Chu Luyue will die. Now even Chu Luqian, the invalid, may be more important than me. Chu Liuzhou was angry. He felt that he couldn't wait any longer after waiting for so many years. He was the legitimate son, but why couldn't he be the crown prince? His mother was the empress in the palace, and he was the only son of his mother. No matter from which aspect, he should be the legitimate son. Compared with him, Chu Luyue and Chu Luqian were nothing. However, his father was partial. Not only did he put Chu Luyue in front of him, but now it seemed that this invalid also had a chance. Your Highness, don't worry. Shouldn't Prince Yu be anxious this time? That person was sent to Prince Chen's mansion by Prince Yu. Ji Lingzhen comforted the grumpy Chu Liuzhou with a smile. The person who sent the vegetables to Prince Chen's mansion was arranged by Prince Yu. The brocade box that the Empress occasionally got was also sent to Prince Chen's mansion by Prince Yu's people. If something happened, it should be Prince Yu who directly went to Prince Chen's mansion. Ji Lingzhen thought that Prince Zhou didn't have to be so anxious at all. Prince Yu was the most anxious person now. The Empress asked someone to let the brocade box fall into the hands of Concubine Da's people. As expected, Concubine Da and Prince Yu took action. Their people just added fuel to the fire, and the real failure should be Prince Yu. Her words reminded Chu Liuzhou. The grumpy look on his face eased. Thinking for a while, he suddenly laughed. Chu Luiyue wants to harm Prince Chen's mansion, but I didn't expect that he got nothing in the end. It really makes me happy. Looking at Zhou Wang, who looked like a child, Ji Lingjun smiled helplessly. Second uncle, did it really fail? After laughing for a while, Chu Liuzhou suddenly stopped and asked a new question. Her Majesty said it might not work out. Ji Lingjun said vaguely. So you didn't investigate clearly? Why didn't you investigate it clearly? Chu Liuzhou waved his sleeves discontentedly and said. We can't investigate Prince Chen's mansion at will now. The Emperor has sent the Imperial Guards to keep an eye on it. Ji Lingjun said. He was afraid that this prince would be moved and send people out to attract the Emperor's attention. Prince, you must not act rashly at this time. Is Princess Chen really fine? Chu Liuzhou focused on something else. This. I really don't know. I only heard that the Empress is sick, Ji Lingjun said. At present, no one in Prince Chen's mansion dared to interfere again. The news they knew was often heard inadvertently. No one dared to inquire about it deliberately. Even the Empress did not dare to mention Princess Chen in front of the Emperor, so as not to attract the Emperor's attention. Chu Luiyue. How is it? Chu Liuzhou calmed down and asked. Prince Yu is also very calm. Nothing happened, Ji Lingjun said. Chu Liuzhou sneered and said sarcastically, he is really patient. He sent people to set up such a trap, but he got nothing in the end. But he is still so patient. He is indeed the most insidious among the brothers. Chu Liuzhou sneered and said. Prince Yu took action directly. Since he is so patient, why can't you be patient? Whether something happened to Princess Chen, or whether it really failed, you can't come forward to verify it. Prince Yu will be anxious. This time, you can just wait aside and watch the show. Anyway, it's impossible to find out that you are the culprit. Ji Lingjun knew Prince Zhou's character. He said what Prince Zhou cared about. Chu Liuzhou nodded repeatedly. Second uncle, you're right. I know. I won't investigate this matter impulsively. I'll listen to my mother and second uncle and wait and see. Chu Liuzhou was satisfied and immediately listened to his mother's advice and said with a smile. Prince Yu's mansion was calm on the surface, but Chu Luiyue couldn't calm down in his study. Not only his advisor, Mr. Lu, but also Wen Shiqi was in his study. Sitting in the corner, Wen Shiqi was looking at a fan in his hand. It was an authentic work of a scholar of the previous dynasty that he admired. He nodded as he looked at it. It seemed that his attention was all on this authentic work. This was the excuse Chu Luiyue used to invite him here. But he had been paying attention to the conversation between Chu Luiyue and Mr. Lu. Mr. Lu, is it really useless? Chu Luiyue asked uneasily. It seems to be useless. Prince, you should be prepared for failure. Mr. Lu said implicitly. In the current situation, several counselors couldn't help persuading their masters. At this time, no matter who stood up for them, it would not end well. How could it fail? How could it fail? Mother said. Chu Luiyue immediately felt that he had said something wrong. He hurriedly stopped talking and coughed hard. Then his face softened. Mr. Lu, what should I do now? Please teach me. After saying that, he stood up and bowed to Mr. Lu respectfully. Mr. Lu hurriedly stood up and turned away, not daring to accept his bow. Prince, don't be so polite. We have to think about it in the long run. Mr. Lu said. The two of them sat down again. Mr. Lu, what do you think we should do now? Chu Luiyue asked respectfully again. Prince, we shouldn't do anything now. Just wait and see. I heard that Princess Chen has a small cold in the mansion, but I don't know if it's true. They said that it's not a big problem. They didn't invite imperial physicians, so they can't find out for a while. Mr. Lu analyzed methodically. We'd better go to find out the news now, but we're afraid that the emperor will find out. Mr. Lu was actually a little anxious. This idea was his, but it didn't work at the moment. He couldn't even figure out the truth. Yuan Qing, what do you think? Chu Luiyue thought for a while and suddenly turned to Wen Shiqi, who seemed to be focused on the fan. Hearing Chu Luiyue's question, Wen Shiqi raised his head and glanced at Mr. Lu, who was a little nervous. Prince Yu, we'd better think about it in the long run. He didn't pretend that he didn't hear it. He just said something that followed their thoughts. Yuan Qing, do you think we should take the initiative to find out about Princess Chen? Chu Luiyue asked hurriedly, and his eyes fell on Wen Shiqi's face. Wen Shiqi didn't seem to notice the tentative look in Chu Luiyue's eyes. He thought for a while and said, "It's not convenient for you to go to Prince Chen's mansion to find out. Actually, you can go to Rui and Great Elder Princess's mansion." His words reminded Chu Luiyue, and he nodded repeatedly. Yuan Qing, you're right. I should go to see my grandaunt. At this time in the past, I would also go to see her. Among the princes, although Chu Luiyue looked cold, he had always been good to the elders of the royal family. Rui and Great Elder Princess's mansion was one of the places he paid special attention to. When he was young, he received concubine Da's order and went to Rui and Great Elder Princess's mansion from time to time. Later, when Xiao Yanru lived in Great Elder Princess's mansion, he went there more frequently. Chu Liuzhou followed him to Rui and Great Elder Princess's mansion. During the period when Xiao Yanru was raised in Rui and Great Elder Princess's mansion, Chu Liuzhou also went there a lot. After Xiao Yanru returned to Duke Xing's mansion, Chu Liuzhou basically didn't go there, but Chu Luiyue still went to see Rui and Great Elder Princess from time to time. For this reason, the emperor often praised him in front of concubine Da, saying that he was a person who respected elders. It was indeed the time to visit Rui and Great Elder Princess at this time. After thinking about this, Chu Luiyue asked Wen Shiqi and Mr. Lu to go back first. He asked someone to prepare gifts and went to Rui and Great Elder Princess's mansion. When the carriage arrived at Great Elder Princess's mansion, the gatekeeper saw that it was Prince Yu's carriage, so he asked someone to report and unbolted the door, inviting Prince Yu to enter. In the past, His Royal Highness Prince Yu often came. The gatekeeper naturally recognized His Royal Highness Prince Yu's carriage. After leading the carriage to the parking lot inside, Chu Luiyue got out of the carriage and saw two beautiful servant girls already waiting in front of him. Seeing him come down, they hurriedly stepped forward and saluted, "Your Highness." "No." Chu Luiyue waved his hand politely and asked, "How is my grandaunt?" "The weather has been bad recently, so I brought some tonics here." "Thank you, Your Highness. Our first princess knows that you are here and has been waiting for you. She is in good health." "Thank you, Your Highness, for your concern." One of the servant girls answered cleverly, and the other added a few words on the side with a smile. Chu Luiyue nodded and followed the servant girls inside. When he arrived in front of Rui and Great Elder Princess, he stepped forward with a smile and saluted, "Good morning, grandaunt." "Prince Yu, you are too polite. Please sit down." Rui and Great Elder Princess said with a smile. Chu Luiyue did not stand on ceremony anymore and sat down. The servant girls served tea. He picked up the teacup and took a sip before saying, "Grandaunt, did you have any old problems?" Rui and Great Elder Princess looked strong, but in fact, she was not very good, especially at this time, she was prone to some small problems. "Thank you, Your Highness, for your concern. I am in good health," Rui and Great Elder Princess said. After asking a few more questions with concern, Chu Luiyue got to the point, "Where is Cousin Hao? Shouldn't he be here at this time in the past?" Chu Luiyue thought clearly. Compared with Rui and Great Elder Princess, Xiao Yuanhao was the breakthrough point. "Hao was sick before, and I also have a headache." Rui and Great Elder Princess sighed and said helplessly. "Sick? Isn't it terrible? I happen to bring an imperial physician with me. Let him check on Hao." Chu Luyue stood up with concern. Chapter 1056. Rui, and Great Elder Princess looked at Chu Luyue with a trace of serenity in her eyes and said, "He has taken the medicine before and should be asleep now. Since he has fallen asleep, I will come to see Cousin Hao next time." Chu Luyue said with a smile, "Cousin Hao is now the heir of Marquis Xing, and my wish has been fulfilled. All of this belongs to Hao, Rui, and Great Elder Princess's face turned cold. "No matter what, it belongs to Hao, but will Marquis Xing really be willing to accept it? You'd better be careful," Chu Luyue said with concern. Chu Luyue paused and said, "Grand Aunt, do you know that the first young master of Marquis Xing's car collided with Yuan An's?" "What do you mean?" Rui, and Great Elder Princess frowned and didn't understand what Chu Luyue meant. The Great Elder Princess had naturally heard of this matter before, as it had caused quite a stir in the past. "Actually." Chu Luyue hesitated for a moment and looked at the people around Rui, and Great Elder Princess. Rui, and Great Elder Princess coughed in a low voice and said, "Don't worry, they are all my confidants. Just say what you want to say." When Infanta Yuan was hit, Xiao Hua was actually fine. Yuan asked someone to beat him. Chu Luyue lowered his voice a little. Rui, and Great Elder Princess's eyes immediately widened and she asked, Why? "When I was the heir of Marquis, I once went to Aunt Ruiping's mansion. Speaking of this, Aunt Ruiping should also dislike Marquis Xing very much," Chu Luyue said with a smile. His words were implicit, but it was not difficult to understand the meaning behind it. Chu Luyue said something in front of Rui, and Great Elder Princess, so Rui, and Great Elder Princess also disliked Marquis Xing. Therefore, after Infanta Yuan was hit, she found an excuse to beat Xiao Hua This was a show of goodwill to Rui, and Great Elder Princess. When Infanta Yuan was in the palace, she said it was completely an accident. Rui, and Great Elder Princess was stunned and then understood. She smiled more gently, narrowed her eyes and nodded with appreciation. "Has Yuan recovered from his injury?" "Her face was injured. My second brother sent a miracle-working doctor with excellent medical skills, so there should be no big problem," Chu Luyue said. "Her face was injured. Second brother of a miracle-working doctor with excellent medical skills, so there should be no big problem." This was Infanta Yuan's favor as well as Chu Luyue's. Hearing this, Chu Luyue was overjoyed. If he could make Rui, and Great Elder Princess stand on his side, he would benefit a lot. Not to mention the relationship between Rui, and Great Elder Princess and the Empress Dowager. Rui, and Great Elder Princess granddaughter was Xiao Wanru, and she had always stood firmly behind Xiao Wanru, which was enough to make Xiao Wanru work for him. Chu Liuchen's actual situation had always been a mystery. If he could place a chess piece beside Chu Liuchen, it would be too advantageous for him. Great Aunt, Infanta Yuan's injury should not be a big problem. It doesn't matter whether you go or not. If you go too soon, it will make people suspicious, and Marquis Xing's mansion may see something and say something to my father. Chu Luyue said for Rui, and Great Elder Princess's sake. He just said what he said casually to please Rui, and Great Elder Princess. If Rui, and Great Elder Princess went to Ruiping Great Elder Princess to say something, it would be inappropriate. It was good that everyone knew it. Rui, and Great Elder Princess, after thinking for a while, she nodded and said, "I worry too much. Great Aunt, I'm afraid that Xiao Jing will not let go of Cousin Hao's matter, will he?" After showing his goodwill, Chu Luyue looked more and more concerned. Rui, and Great Elder Princess said with a cold snort with a straight face, "He can do whatever he wants. I'm not afraid of him." "Great Aunt, you're not afraid, but what if Xiao Jing wants to deal with Princess Chen and Cousin Hao? Third brother is not in the mansion at this time. If something happens in the mansion, Princess Chen is too young to deal with it." Chu Luyue reminded Rui, and Great Elder Princess. Even if Prince Chen is not here, Xiao Jing can't use filial piety to suppress Princess Chen. Moreover, old Madam of Marquis Xing is not in the mansion. Rui, and great elder princess, had been paying attention to the affairs of Marquis Xing's mansion. She knew that old madam had already packed up and went to the Yuhui nunnery. Old madam of Marquis Xing's mansion could suppress Xiao Jing with filial piety, but Marquis Xing's mansion, Xiao Jing. Great aunt, you are right. I'm just afraid that Xiao Jing is not simple. I heard that the emperor sent imperial guards to Prince Chen's mansion before. I don't know if it has anything to do with Xiao Jing. Chu Luyue came here today to inquire about Xiao Wanru. He originally wanted to ask Xiao Yuanhao. Since Xiao Yuanhao was ill, he could only ask Rui, and great elder princess, indirectly. Rui, and great elder princess, waved her hand and said indifferently, it was a false alarm. It's nothing. The emperor sent people to catch the remnants of the previous dynasty. He thought that they fell into Prince Chen's mansion, so he left after asking the butler of Prince Chen's mansion. He didn't disturb Princess Chen, so it is unlikely to have anything to do with Xiao Jing. Xiao Wanru was fine. My plan has failed. Chu Luyue was shocked, but he didn't show it on his face. He still looked concerned and said, that's good. Since third brother is not here, I'm afraid that Marquis Xing's mansion will make trouble again. Father also asked about third brother the day before yesterday. Did the emperor say when Prince Chen will return to the capital city? Rui, and great elder princess, became spirited. Well. Great aunt, please forgive me for not telling you. Chu Luyue said in embarrassment. This kind of thing was also a military and state affair, so he really couldn't tell her. Nothing would happen on the way to the capital city under normal circumstances, but he couldn't guarantee that no one would try to harm Chu Luchen or the two princesses of the Su kingdom who followed him to the capital city. Exposing Chu Liuchen's itinerary could lead to an accident. It was best not to ask or tell. I asked too much. Rui, and great elder princess, understood what he meant and said slowly. Great aunt, if third brother enters the capital city, I will inform you immediately. Chu Luyue stood up and said with a smile, I have something to do now, so I won't disturb you. Rui, and great elder princess, nodded and said, if you have something to do, you can leave now. After bowing to Rui, and great elder princess, Chu Luyue turned around and strode away. Rui, and great elder princess, frowned slightly. What Chu Luyue said when he came over was not important at all. There seemed to be no substantive problem. What was his purpose? Zhuozhua had sent someone to tell her that if anyone came to inquire about her, Rui, and great elder princess, would pay special attention to it. But now, there were many people who asked about Zhuozhua. Several madams who came and went with her in the past would talk about Zhuozhua when they met her. In particular, the emperor's imperial guards had once entered Prince Chen's mansion. Except for these frequent visitors. His wife, Ruiping great elder princess, mentioned her granddaughter to Chu Luyue. Who was the one secretly plotting against his granddaughter? Ruian great elder princess had always felt that Ruian great elder princess was suspicious, but now she also felt that Chu Luyue seemed to be a little suspicious. She just thought about Chu Luyue's words and didn't say anything. She just casually said a few words of concern. Who on earth was it? Rui, and great elder princess, was very confused. But no matter what, she had to tell her granddaughter about it. Her granddaughter was smart and would definitely find clues from these people. Chu Luyue walked out with a calm look, but his heart was already in turmoil. Xiao Wanru was fine, so his plan did not succeed. He was a little angry in his heart, but he couldn't help thinking about it. The plan was so meticulous and could be said to be closely linked. What went wrong? How could the people of Prince Chen's mansion escape? Needless to say, the chief butler of Prince Chen's mansion should have fallen into the trap this time, but nothing happened to him at the moment. It would be much easier to deal with Xiao Wanru after getting rid of the chief butler of Prince Chen's mansion. At that time, it would not take much effort to kill Xiao Wanru or make her disappear. The chief butler of Prince Chen's mansion was the most important trouble. The identity of the former chief butler of the Empress was enough to let people know that this chief butler was not simple and easy to deal with. After getting on the carriage, Chu Liuyue's face became cold and there was a trace of fierceness in his eyes. There must be a reason for it, but he didn't know which part went wrong. The carriage slowly went out of the gate of Rui, an great elder princess mansion. Go to the savant's building, Chu Luiyue ordered as soon as they got out of the door. The coachman answered, raised his whip and drove the carriage in a different direction, heading for Chu Luiyue's favorite savant's building. On the halfway, the carriage stopped for a moment. A little eunuch dressed as a manservant got off the carriage and ran away quickly. He was ordered to go to the deputy prime minister's mansion to invite third young master Wen Shiqi. The business of the savant's building was very good. Those who had passed the examination had not been officially appointed, so they would hold banquets here from time to time. In addition, many elegant people also liked to come here, so the business was getting better and better. When Chu Luiyue got off the carriage, a sharp-eyed waiter immediately saw him and recognized him. He came up to him with a smile and said, "Your Highness, please." Chu Luiyue had ordered before that the waiter here was not allowed to call him Your Highness, indicating that he didn't want to reveal his identity here. Chu Luiyue followed him into the savant's building. The first floor was almost full, so he didn't stay here and went straight to the fourth floor. There was a private room on the fourth floor, which had been reserved for him by the restaurant. Who is this? Didn't they say that there were no private rooms left? Someone said unhappily when he saw the waiter leading the person to the private room upstairs with a fawning face. He must be a noble child in the capital city. Even if we pass the examination, we can't compare with him. Another man beside him raised the corner of his mouth and said in a sarcastic tone. He was really unconvinced. Some of them had passed the examination, and some had not. When they drank together before, they were quite congenial, so they deliberately gathered here a few more times. They originally wanted to book a private room, but just now the waiter kept saying that there were no private rooms left. Now that someone was directly led upstairs, he was very unconvinced. Shi also followed Chu Luiyue up. Coincidentally, he was also among this group of people. Chapter 1057. When Shiqi followed the servant who led the way and walked slowly to the stairs. When he reached the top of the stairs, he turned slightly and looked at Shi, who was looking at him from below. The two of them looked at each other and turned away quietly. When Shiqi knew the person in charge of Wang Xingxue's incident. Shi knew the Zhuang Yuan of the previous circle and the current official of the Ministry of Justice. When Shiqi continued to go up, and Shi lowered her head thoughtfully, when he went up to the fourth floor, he pushed open the door of the private room and saw Chu Luiyue sitting there with a gloomy face, holding a wine glass. He took 2 steps forward and saluted, "Your Highness." "Yuan Qing, don't be so polite. Please sit down." Chu Luiyue reached out and pressed his forehead with his eyebrows slightly relaxed. When Shiqi did not stand on ceremony and sat down on the chair opposite Chu Luiyue. A pair of cups had already been placed there. A little eunuch dressed as a servant came over and poured a glass of wine for him and stepped aside. "Your Highness, what's the matter?" When Shiqi did not raise his glass. He looked at Chu Luiyue's face and asked. "Yuan Qing and I grew up together and were friends when we were young. Now Yuan Qing is on my side wholeheartedly. I won't hide it from you. Nothing happened in Prince Chen's mansion. Yuan Qing, please help me analyze why nothing happened. Didn't father find any prohibited items in Prince Chen's mansion?" Chu Luiyue said. The brocade box involved too many things. Even if he told Wen Shiqi, he only mentioned it vaguely. He only said that he accidentally got a prohibited item related to the previous dynasty. Although this matter was discussed by Chu Luiyue and Mr. Lu, they did not hide it from Wen Shiqi when they talked about it in the study afterwards. "Is Princess Chen all right?" Wen Shiqi asked calmly. "She's fine. It should be a common physical discomfort. It's not what I thought before. Father has already controlled someone to kill Princess Chen." Chu Luiyue frowned and said. He had thought that there was no news about Xiao Wanru because she was imprisoned by his father with the excuse of illness and then died before Chu Luiyue entered the capital city. Compared with a sudden death, this reason was much more sufficient and acceptable. If Princess Chen is fine and there is no change in Prince Chen's mansion, then Prince's plan will definitely fail. Wen Shiqi said lightly, Your Highness, you'd better not act rashly now. Although Prince Chen is not in the capital city, His Majesty's attention has been drawn to Prince Chen's mansion. Your Highness, perhaps you should think about how you got the so-called prohibited goods. I got it by chance. Chu Liuyue's pupils contracted and his eyes twitched. He suddenly felt that he had missed something. Whether he got it by chance or someone did it on purpose, Your Highness, you'd better figure it out. Wen Shiqi said, maybe this is the key reason why things went wrong. Chu Liuyue's heart thumped twice, and he tentatively asked, Do you mean that someone may have schemed against me? Your Highness, you should know best whether someone schemed against you or not. Wen Shiqi said. Chu Liuyue's face changed. He didn't know what was in the brocade box, but he saw that his mother's face changed, and then she told him not to open it and asked him to give the hot brocade box away, saying that it was a troublemaker. If the emperor found out who had it, it would be a big disaster. Because of this mysterious brocade box, he later borrowed the strength of others to fight against others. Could it be that someone did it on purpose? He got this brocade box in the imperial palace. At that time, he saw a little eunuch running out of a place in a panic and happened to run in front of him. After he was caught, the little eunuch hit the wall and died without saying anything, leaving only this brocade box. Seeing the rust on the brocade box, Chu Liyue paid attention to it at that time and didn't open it. Instead, he went to find his mother, concubine De. His mother seemed to know something, but she wasn't very clear. When she saw the brocade box, her face changed dramatically. If someone in the imperial palace schemed against him, it was most likely to be the empress. He really thought it was a coincidence before, and then he was attracted by concubine De's expression, so he didn't think about other possibilities in this matter for a while. Being reminded by Wen Shiqi, Chu Liyue immediately realized that he might have fallen into the trap of the empress and her son. Not only he had such an idea, but the empress and her son should also want to let Chu Luqian marry Princess Yutao of the Su Kingdom. Chu Liyue slammed his hand on the table so hard that the bowls and plates on the table jumped up. He suddenly stood up and paced back and forth twice before he stood still and said, I should have fallen into your trap. Your Highness, if there is really something wrong with the brocade box, then it is normal for the following things to change. Wen Shiqi said indifferently as if he didn't see the rage on Chu Liyue's face. Yuanqing sect, please. Chu Liyue bowed to Wen Shiqi. Wen Shiqi hurriedly stood up to return the salute. The two of them sat down again. If there is really something wrong with the brocade box, it means that someone else wants to plot against Prince Chen's mansion. They may be watching the show from the sidelines, or they may expose Prince's matter to Prince Chen's mansion and let Princess Chen know that what happened before was done by Prince Chen, making Prince's mansion and Prince Chen really go against each other. Wen Shiqi said. Go against Prince Chen's mansion. Go against Chu Luqian. Thinking of Chu Luqian, Chu Liyue's heart twitched for no reason, and there was a dark mist looming in his eyes. He was jealous and resentful. He was his father's son, but why did his father take care of this invalid more than himself? They should be watching a good show. It is impossible for them to expose my behavior to Prince Chen's mansion. Chu Liyue shook his head and said decisively. Since they are here to watch a good show, they may do something in secret. Maybe the people in Prince Chen's mansion know some clues. Since there can't be any accident in Prince Chen's mansion, the news must have been leaked by another party in secret, Wen Shiqi said unhurriedly. Chu Liyue was shocked, but after thinking about it carefully, he felt that it made sense. He nodded repeatedly and said, There is absolutely no accident here, and no one found out about it later. It seems that there is a third party behind this matter, who wants to see me play a good show, but I didn't expect that someone found the trace. This could explain what happened in Prince Chen's mansion. Chu Liyue's face turned livid with anger. He had always thought that he was the one sitting on the fishing platform, but now he found that in this careful plan, he was the one in the foreground, and someone had secretly spied on him. Wen Shiqi and Chu Liyue didn't leave the private room together. He left first. After going downstairs, he looked at Yan Shi strangely again. After they looked at each other silently, Yan Shi smiled at Wen Shiqi and silently raised the wine glass in her hand to Wen Shiqi. Wen Shiqi went downstairs and went straight to Yan Shi. He cupped his hands to her and said, Yan Tanhua. Lord Wen. Yan Shi said. After being stunned for a moment, she put down the wine glass in her hand, stood up, and cupped her hands to salute Wen Shiqi. All the people around were stunned. Some people who knew Wen Shiqi whispered to the people around them, he is the top scholar of the previous year, the third child of Prime Minister Wen's mansion. Third child Wen. Lord Wen. The scholars who came with Yan Shi stood up together. The top scholar was always the most respected scholar. Moreover, Wen Shiqi was still young even now, so it could be seen that he was famous at that time. Wen Shiqi smiled and cupped his hands, and then said to Yan Shi, Child Yan, would you do me the honor to drink a cup of wine? It's better to meet by chance than to invite you. I should invite you. Lord Wen, please. Yan Shi said and looked around. There happened to be an empty table near the window, so she hurriedly led them there. The waiter had already cleaned up the table quickly. The two of them went over and sat down, and the waiter served tea. Lord Wen, is it about the previous case? Yan Shi asked as soon as she sat down. It's about this indeed. I want to ask you, Child Yan, Wen Shiqi said with a faint expression. Lord Wen, please go ahead. Yan Shi's face tightened, thinking that there would be a follow-up to this matter. Although Wang Xingxue was dead, this matter was considered over. It was said that Wang Xingxue had done it alone, and his accomplice, Ning Kaixian, was also banished. The matter was completely over here, but Yan Shi always felt that it should not be ended in this way. Child Yan, do you think that Wang Xingxue's case has something to do with Marquis Xing's mansion? Wen Shiqi asked directly. Yan Shi's eyes fell on Wen Shiqi's face. She calmed down and said carefully, Does the Ministry of Justice have any other doubts about this matter? The official of the Ministry of Justice said that this matter had nothing to do with anyone else but Wang Xingxue. That was what the official of the Ministry of Justice said at that time. After saying that, he turned around and left, without giving Yan Shi a chance to argue. The Ministry of Justice has closed the case and said that it was all Wang Xingxue's business, but I still think there are some doubtful points in it. Child Yan, do you think this matter has anything to do with Princess Chen? Wen Shiqi asked again, staring at Yan Shi sharply. Lord Wen, how can this matter have anything to do with Princess Chen? Yan Shi's face also darkened, and her eyes fell on Wen Shiqi suspiciously. It has nothing to do with Princess Chen. Wen Shiqi asked again. Absolutely not. Yan Shi answered decisively. He really felt that this matter had nothing to do with Princess Chen. Then it should have something to do with Marquis Xing, right? Wen Shiqi's expression softened, and he said with a slight smile. It shouldn't have anything to do with him. Yan Shi relaxed, shook her head, and said with a wry smile, Although I lived in Marquis Xing's mansion before, it was the elder's idea. In the past, I have been studying behind closed doors, and I have only met Marquis Xing a few times. Why does he need to harm a junior like me? Wen Shiqi carefully observed Yan Shi's expression. After a long while, he said slowly, Then I overthought. I thought there was something hidden about Wang Xingxue's case. Since there is nothing, I'm sorry to disturb you, Yan Tanhua. As he said, he stood up and cupped his hands to salute, and Yan Shi also stood up to return the salute. Lord Wen, you're too polite. Wen Shiqi's eyes fell on Yan Shi's face thoughtfully again, and he was in a trance for a moment. He had seen Yan Shi in his dream. What did this person have to do with him? Chapter 1058. Your Highness, Great Elder Princess said that only some old madams who had been in contact with you before asked about you. However, Ruiping Great Elder Princess and Prince Yu also mentioned you, which surprised her a little. The other old madams couldn't tell who asked about you on purpose. An old maid of Rui and Great Elder Princess's mansion reported. Prince Yu went there in person. Xiao Wanru was shocked and put down the maple leaf in her hand. She was about to finish pasting the painting in her hand and was now decorating it. Prince, you used to come to our mansion. Great Elder Princess said that it was nothing. The old maid answered cleverly. On the way here, Great Elder Princess repeatedly told her to make it clear so as not to misunderstand Princess Chen. Does Ruiping Great Elder Princess come here in the past? Xiao Wanru asked with a smile after thinking for a while. Ruiping Great Elder Princess seldom comes to our mansion. Ruiping Great Elder Princess and our Great Elder Princess are not close in the past, so they just treat each other on the surface. This time, she came here to gossip and asked about Princess Chen from time to time. She also said that Infanta Yuan was in a bad mood and wanted you to comfort her. We are all young people, so it is convenient for us to talk about some things. The old maid said. How is Infanta Yuan's face? Xiao Wanru asked. It seems that she will recover soon, but Infanta Yuan is in a bad mood. Ruiping Great Elder Princess didn't say what it was exactly. I see. If there is any abnormal person asking about me, ask Grandma to send someone to tell me, Xiao Wanru nodded and said. The old maid of Rui and Great Elder Princess's mansion answered and left. Chu Lu gave her a basin of water. After washing her hands, Xiao Wanru walked to the window and looked at the sky. It was sunny outside, and it was a good time to enjoy the scenery. Let's go to the garden and have a look. Xiao Wanru walked out. Chu Lu and Yujie hurriedly followed her. Prince Chen's mansion covered a large area, and the garden was even more exquisite. There were waterside pavilions, winding rivers, and exquisite painted pleasure boats on the water. Everywhere showed the elegant and gorgeous atmosphere of the royal family. It was reasonable that this place was called the Nangong Palace. If there was no such a small side door, it would not be strange to directly include Prince Chen's mansion into the imperial palace. Standing in front of a step, Xiao Wanru stopped and looked out leisurely. After marrying into Prince Chen's mansion for so long, there were some knots in her heart that she had never gotten rid of. For example, she had never gone to this place before, but this place was very vivid in her memory. In front of her, the flowers reflected the tall eaves of the balcony. Under the 2 rows of tall trees, there was an exquisite pavilion, but there was a bone-piercing chill in her heart. No matter how hard she tried, she could not take the next step. The tall palace, the magnificent steps, the noble atmosphere of the royal family, under the reflection of these trees, was pressing nobility, but also pressing blood. His breathing unconsciously became heavy, as if the soles of his feet had fallen into a thick layer of mud, and he could not take another step forward. Princess, what's wrong with you? Yujie noticed her strange expression and hurriedly reached out to help her. Xiao Wanru's delicate little face was pale, and her lips were as pale as her face. Your Highness. Chu Lu also noticed Xiao Wanru's abnormality and said anxiously. She closed her eyes hard, took a deep breath, suppressed the feeling of nausea, pulled herself together, shook her head, and said, I'm fine. Standing still, she finally turned around and walked to the pavilion on the side. He walked further away from this place, and further away from it. Your Highness, are you not feeling well? Do you want an imperial physician to come and have a look? Yujie helped her into the pavilion and asked with concern, I can take your pulse first. No, I just felt a little uncomfortable all of a sudden just now. I'm fine now. Xiao Wanru shook her head. Your Highness, shall I ask Mingqiu Nun to come and have a look at you? Yujie blinked her eyes and suggested. Xiao Wanru's current situation looked extremely bad, so she was really worried about her. Don't bother Mingqiu Nun and disturb her cultivation. We have agreed to invite Mingqiu Nun to come and have a talk in a few days, Xiao Wanru said. When she invited Mingqiu Nun to come last time, she had agreed to invite Mingqiu Nun a few days later. At this time, it was not the time for Mingqiu Nun to enter the mansion, and it was easy to bring danger to Mingqiu Nun. Prince Chen's mansion was also troubled at the moment, so Xiao Wanru was unwilling to involve Mingqiu Nun in it. Your Highness, is it because of the words sent by someone from Great Elder Princess's mansion just now? Chu Lu thought for a while and felt that it was very possible. The princess had been fine before, but after someone from Great Elder Princess's mansion came, she went out for a walk and felt uncomfortable. It's not because of these words. Xiao Wanru shook her head again. Your Highness, do you think it is the people from Prince Zhou's mansion or Prince Yu's mansion who schemed against you? Yujia asked more directly. In fact, she had wanted to ask before, but she didn't dare to ask more when she saw Xiao Wanru's bad look. Of course, the ultimate goal of scheming against Prince Chen was Prince Zhou or Prince Yu. Prince Xian was too young and jumpy, so it didn't seem to be him. I think it may also be the people from Prince Cheng's mansion. I heard that the brocade box has been rusted for many years. At that time, Prince Yu and Prince Zhou were still young, but Prince Cheng was already an adult at that time. Chu Lu retorted with a different meaning. She thought that Prince Cheng was most likely the mastermind of this scheme. But only Ruiping Great Elder Princess and Prince Yu are a little strange. Infanta Yuan and is the future Princess Zhou, and Prince Yu came in person. It doesn't seem to be that simple. Yu Jie retorted. She still felt that Prince Zhou and Prince Yu were suspicious. Even if the brocade box was locked and had little to do with Prince Zhou and Prince Yu, the Empress and concubine De must have passed by that time. But Chu Lu was unconvinced and wanted to argue, but Xiao Wanru shook her hand to stop her. How can the Empress and concubine De be despised by anyone? Xiao Wanru said with a cold face. Yujia and Chu Lu looked at each other and saw the fear in each other's eyes. They knelt down with a plop and said, "We made a slip of the tongue. Please punish us, Your Highness. This is Prince Chen's mansion. Although the prince said that you can talk here without worry, there are too many people here. If someone spreads the news, do you want to die?" Xiao Wanru asked with a little anger on her face. Thinking of this terrible consequence, the two servant girls trembled and said hurriedly, "Your Highness, we don't dare to do it again. Your Highness, we don't dare to do it again. You have to remember that the Nangong Palace is also the Imperial Palace. It's okay if the people in the Imperial Palace don't know what happened in it. If they want to know, it's easy to be found out," Xiao Wanru warned. The two servant girls were alarmed. What Xiao Wanru said just now also made her vigilant. In the past, she didn't restrain them much. If they still behaved like this after entering the Imperial Palace, she would definitely kill the two servant girls. "Your Highness, we know," the two of them said in unison. At this time, they were really panicked. Just now, the two of them were so excited that they forgot that they were outdoors. Now when they thought of it, they felt weak. How could the Empress and concubine to be talked about casually? Moreover, they talked about such a rebellious topic. "If you can't do it in the future, I don't dare to keep you anymore. I simply let you go and let you be free people after leaving the mansion. It's better for you to stay far away from the capital city. I really neglected you in the past. How dare you say such things outside?" Xiao Wanru said angrily. "Your Highness, we know we're wrong. We don't dare to do it again." Hearing that Xiao Wanru didn't want them anymore, the two servant girls were so flustered that they burst into tears. They hurriedly kowtowed to Xiao Wanru 3 times and said, "Be careful with your words and deeds. Those who don't live long in the Imperial Palace are those who don't know how to be careful with their words and deeds." Seeing that the two servant girls sincerely admitted their mistakes, Xiao Wanru sighed and looked a little relaxed. "Get up. Remember to be more careful outside in the future. If you are in the Imperial Palace, even in the room, you should be careful." "I know." The two servant girls wiped their tears and stood up. Knowing that the princess did it for their own good, they couldn't help but feel shocked. After arriving at Prince Chen's mansion, there was nothing to do, and it seemed that they were much less vigilant. In the past, they would never say such things outside the room. Even if they said it in the room, they would keep their voices low and speak carefully. "Your Highness, what is that servant girl doing?" When Chu Lu was wiping her tears, she suddenly saw a figure. She looked up and saw a servant girl hiding behind a clump of trees in the distance, behaving furtively. Let's go and have a look. Xiao Wanru also turned her eyes over. Yujie walked over quickly and soon came over with a trembling servant girl. I pay my respects to your highness. The 12 or 13 years old servant girl looked very panicked. Standing in front of Xiao Wanru, she couldn't even finish her words. Where are you from? Xiao Wanru looked the little servant girl up and down and asked gently. I'm tending to the flowers and plants in the garden. Just now when I saw your highness coming over, I was scared, so I hid. I didn't mean it. The little servant girl looked very scared and reported in a trembling voice. What did you hide just now? Yujie took a step forward and reached out to point at the little servant girl's wrist. The little servant girl's hand was tightly curled up and half of it was hidden in her sleeve. Because of the panic, the cuffs were half turned up. If one didn't look carefully, they really couldn't see it. I'm nothing. The servant girl subconsciously hid her hand back. Take out the thing in her hand, Xiao Wanru said slowly. Yujie took 2 steps forward, grabbed the little servant girl's hand, and struggled to throw it out. However, compared with Yujie who was born with great strength, the servant girl's strength was not worth mentioning at all. The wrist hidden in the sleeve was pulled out, and a very thin gold bracelet could be seen on the wrist. It was very thin and a little flattened by Yujie, but it was still a gold bracelet. It was definitely not something that a little servant girl like Yujie in front of her could afford to wear. The loose gold bracelet was obviously not suitable for a little servant girl to wear, so Yujie pulled it off easily. Chapter 1059. It was a very small gold bracelet. When Yujie pulled it down hard, it was twisted. It turned out that it was not round because of the round gold bracelet. It was very thin and had no pattern. Where did you get this gold bracelet? Xiao Wanru asked. My mother left it to me, the servant girl said in panic. Since it is your mother's gold bracelet, why did you hide it? It's not suitable to wear it on your hand. Aren't you afraid of losing it when you work? Xiao Wanru asked softly. The servant girl became more panicked and hurriedly shook her head. No. I won't lose it. I will be very careful. It's just a memento left by my mother. I'm afraid that others will see it and think it belongs to the prince's mansion, so I wear it carefully. Xiao Wanru handed the bracelet in her hand to Yujie and said, I didn't expect your mother to pass on such a good thing to you. It seems that your original family background is not bad. I'll ask Nanny Yu to check her background later and see if she has such a biological mother. If there's nothing wrong, return the gold bracelet to her. Every servant would leave a clear record of her background when she entered the mansion. Such a bracelet was enough to buy so many servant girls. I'm really. Your Highness, please forgive me. It's really left by my mother. I'm afraid that someone will rob it, so I hid it secretly. Your Highness. Your Highness, I'm really your mother. The servant girl kowtowed and cried. Since it's true, what's wrong with checking it? Can't you check it? Chu Lu said deliberately, I'll ask Nanny Yu to come here now and find out your background. Judging from the honest appearance of this bracelet, it should be from a family with some property. No, it's not mine. Your Highness, it's not mine. I picked it up. Seeing that Chu Lu was about to leave, the servant girl was so scared that her face changed dramatically. She burst into tears and stammered to confess. It's not your bracelet. Where did you pick it up? Xiao Wanru's eyes fell on the bracelet again. The bracelet, which was made of fine gold thread without any pattern, was not like the kind of exquisite bracelet. At first glance, it didn't show any color. If it weren't for the excessive flustered behavior of a maid, Xiao Wanru wouldn't have suspected it. I picked it up over there, behind that flower, where I was standing just now. The little maid pointed and cried. She was really scared. Xiao Wanru walked forward, and the little maid hurriedly got up and followed her. They came to the back of the shrub before, where there was a tree with flowers in full bloom. Some of them had withered and fallen to the ground. The pink petals were extremely beautiful, but now they had fallen into the mud and broken all over the ground. Your Highness, I picked her up here. I saw you and the other sisters as soon as I picked her up. I was about to leave in a panic, but the other sisters found me. The little maid wiped her tears shyly and said. Now that the words hidden in his heart were out, he was no longer as nervous as before. There were petals, fallen leaves, and some branches. There was a small hole under the tree. Your Highness, look. The bracelet was originally buried here, and only a little is exposed. When I saw it just now, I dug out a small hole. The little maid was afraid that Xiao Wanru wouldn't believe it, so she pointed to a small hole in the branches and leaves and said. You just dug it out. Xiao Wanru stared at her and asked again. Your Highness, I really just dug it out, and then I saw Your Highness and the two elder sisters. I originally wanted to hide and wait for Your Highness and the two elder sisters to leave before leaving. The little maid was so scared that her tears fell down again. She looked at Xiao Wanru expectantly and begged. Did you see anyone here before? Xiao Wanru asked. I didn't see anyone. When I came here, I didn't see anyone else. I didn't even notice you and the two sisters before. When I dug out the bracelet, I was overjoyed and found you and the two sisters here. The little maid cried again. She was really scared. She had thought that getting a gold bracelet was a good thing, but now it didn't seem to be a good thing at all. It was obviously a fatal thing. If she had known it earlier, she would not have been greedy just now. She would have directly presented the bracelet to the princess, and then nothing would have happened. Is there really no one here? Xiao Wanru thought for a moment and said to Yujie, take her back first and then ask her. Your Highness, I really didn't see anyone. The little maid was so scared that her face turned pale. Her legs went soft and she was about to kneel down again, but Yujie reached out to stop her. Your Highness asked you to go back with us. Just follow us. Don't talk so much. Yujie rebuked her. The little maid shivered and almost leaned against Yujie. Yujie brought her back. The gold bracelet was placed on the table. Xiao Wanru looked at it thoughtfully. Your Highness, is there anything wrong with this bracelet? Yujie asked. She and Chu Lu had also looked at it for a long time, but they really couldn't see anything special about it. This bracelet was extremely simple and didn't even have a flower. Those who didn't know might think it was a small copper bracelet. It was really too inconspicuous. Although they were two maids, Xiao Wanru had rewarded them with a lot of things, and they also had gold bracelets in their hands. Compared with the gold bracelet in front of them, their gold bracelets were not only bigger, but also more beautiful and delicate. They were not as inconspicuous as the one in front of them. This bracelet has just been cast not long ago. The gold color is very good, but it is a little thin and simple. Xiao Wanru's eyes still fell on the gold bracelet. She had a strange sense of familiarity with it, as if she had seen something similar, but she couldn't remember it at the moment. Your Highness, is such a gold bracelet newly cast? Could it be that you made a mistake? The original one must be so ugly that you thought of casting this one, Yujie said disapprovingly. She didn't think there was a bracelet more ugly than this one. Although the pure color of the gold was very good, it was such a waste of such good gold. Your Highness, could it be recast from other utensils? Chu Lu thought of another aspect and said. Xiao Wanru reached out to pick up the bracelet, shook it twice between her fingers, and said softly, it's also possible. Who dropped it or buried it there on purpose? Your Highness, rest assured. When I entered the door just now, I had whispered to Nanny Yu. Nanny Yu is going to keep an eye on it now. Yujie said. As soon as she entered the door just now, she went to find Nanny Yu and told her about it. Nanny Yu went to keep an eye on it in person. Your Highness, don't you also have a pair of such simple bracelets? Chu Li's eyes suddenly lit up and she said. I also have one. Xiao Wanru was slightly stunned and immediately remembered that no wonder she looked so familiar before. It turned out that she really had a pair of bamboo slips. When she was in Huaguang Temple, Chu Luqian had given her a pair of bamboo slips. A single gold bracelet. Go and get it. Xiao Wanru said. Chu Lu went to the bottom of the dressing table and took out a box. When she opened it, there was a pair of gold bracelets in it. The thick and simple gold bracelets gave a sense of sincerity. Without any pattern, they were solid and rough, heavy and heavy. They couldn't be worn at all and were only suitable for collection. Xiao Wanru picked up the heavy gold bracelet given to her by Chu Luqian with one hand and the thin gold bracelet with the other. They were both solid. One was broad and thick, while the other was small and thin. But the color of the two was almost the same. This meant that the gold purity of the two was almost the same. Or it could be considered that such solid gold bracelets could be recast and at least a dozen pairs of small gold bracelets could be recast. Your Highness, how did you guess that this small gold bracelet was recast? Yu Jie suddenly asked. The gold color is very new and has been polished. Although it has been dusty, the parts that have been cleaned are still very new, Xiao Wanru said with a slight frown. Bring her in. Yu Jie answered and left, and then brought in the little maid, who was trembling with fear. Your Highness, please spare me. The little maid was so scared that her face turned pale. As soon as she entered the room, her legs went soft, and she plopped to the ground and begged. Are you a child of this mansion? Xiao Wanru's long eyelashes fluttered twice and asked. The little maid only felt that the princess in front of her seemed to know everything, so she didn't dare to hide it. She nodded repeatedly and said, Your Highness, I'm a child of this mansion. My mother is in charge of the flowers and trees in that place, so I help her take care of those flowers and trees. Is your mother the Lady Wang who is in charge of the flowers and trees over there? Chu Lu, who knew a lot about the affairs in the mansion, asked in surprise after thinking for a while, and then looked the little maid up and down. Yes, my mother is the Lady Wang. If you don't believe me, you can ask my mother to come here and ask her about it. The little maid said what she wanted to say at this time and didn't dare to talk nonsense anymore. Should your name be Qinglian? Chu Lu asked again with a strange look. Yes, my name is Qinglian. Sister Chu Lu, you know me, right? The little maid said anxiously. Many people in the inner courtyard knew the principal maids who followed the princess. Even if they hadn't dealt with them before, they had seen them from a distance. Xiao Wanru bowed respectfully and said, Your Highness, this servant girl should be called Qinglian. She is the daughter of the Lady Wang who is in charge of the flowers and trees. The Lady Wang told me before that she couldn't take care of the flowers and trees alone, so she wanted her daughter to help her. She said that she was an inferior servant girl who was in charge of sweeping. Your mother was busy before. Why can't she be busy now? Xiao Wanru asked curiously. She was busy at first, but recently the mansion sent a few precious peonies and planted them in my mother's place. Those peonies are too precious. My mother is afraid that she can't take care of them all at once, so she asked my sister to transfer me here. In this way, my mother can spare more time to take care of those precious peonies. There are new peonies in the mansion. Xiao Wanru rolled her watery eyes and asked. I don't know about it either. I'll ask about it later. Chu Lu said. Since it's all right, I will let you go. But what are you going to say when you go back? Xiao Wanru asked meaningfully with a smile. Chapter 1060. The princess left the gold bracelet. A few days ago, the imperial guards came to investigate and said that there were remnants of the former dynasty. Now there is such a strange gold bracelet. Yu Jie said with a smile. The servant girl was so frightened that she curled into a ball. She quickly said, Wang Fei, this servant didn't see anything and doesn't know anything. This servant was just walking through the bushes and saw Wang Fei and the two elder sisters. I was so frightened that I hid. I don't know anything else. You can leave now. Xiao Wanru smiled softly. Yes, I'll leave now. I'll leave now. The little maid hurriedly said. After kowtowing to Xiao Wanru a few more times, she got up and was about to run out. Wait a minute. Chu Lu stopped her. Sister Chu Lu, what else can I do for you? The little maid wiped the cold sweat on her head and said timidly. If someone keeps asking about this matter in the future, Sister Chu Lu, don't worry. If someone keeps asking about this matter, I will definitely report it to you. The little maid hurriedly expressed her loyalty. It was a capital crime to involve the remnants of the former dynasty. Not only she, but also her whole family might be implicated. Although the little maid was not old, everyone in the prince's mansion had some experience. She knew that this kind of thing was the most fatal. Whoever got involved in this kind of thing would be unlucky. The best way was to stay away from it. Even if she couldn't stay away for fun, she had to let the host know that she was innocent. The maid had been so glad that she had picked up a bracelet before, but now she felt so unlucky. Why did she go to that place at that time? Why did she see the bracelet? She was so obsessed that she even wanted to hide it secretly. At that time, she should have presented the gold bracelet directly to the princess. Seeing that the little maid was very tactful and seemed to be smart, Chu Lu didn't embarrass her this time and let her leave with a smile. After the little maid left, Chu Lu returned again. In the room, Xiao Wanru was still comparing the two bracelets. The more she looked at them, the more she felt that they were made of the same gold. At that time, after Chu Luchen gave her such a pair of gold bracelets, there was no more news. She didn't know if what happened today had something to do with it at that time. Now Chu Luchen was not around. Put away the bracelets first and wait for the prince to come back. Xiao Wanru ordered. This matter didn't seem simple, or perhaps it wasn't something she could do. She had always been self-aware, and this was a time of turbulence, so she couldn't do anything rash. It was the right thing to do to wait for Chu Luchen to return to the capital city. He could not ruin Chu Liuchen's big plan because of some small things. He was not clear about the matter, and if he rashly intervened, it would easily spoil things. This was no longer a matter of the backyard. Sure enough, when Nanny Yu came to report, she said that she had been watching there for about 2 hours, but she didn't see anyone go to that place. Only a few servant girls and old maids passed by, but no one deliberately went there. Everything seemed to be normal. The only abnormal thing was the bracelet, but it was in Xiao Wanru's hand now. After making up her mind, Xiao Wanru carefully picked up the painting posted by Maple Leaf again. The painting was basically done. Autumn Forest Lady Painting. The deep and light maple leaves decorated the maple leaves under the setting sun, as well as the fluttering skirts and ribbons of women. Only in the key places, Xiao Wanru used lines. After a little drawing, the rest of the places were trimmed into different shapes with maple leaves. There was a kind of natural charm in the softness and beauty. Some lines at the corners of the clothes had more deep marks that couldn't be drawn with a brush. It looked more natural and more charming. Your Highness, does the Empress Dowager really like this kind of painting made of maple leaves? Yu Jie, who was carefully serving beside her, couldn't help asking at this time. She had been to the palace many times, but she had never heard that the Empress Dowager had such a hobby. The Empress Dowager likes it very much. Xiao Wanru nodded, took 2 steps back, and looked at the overall pattern of the painting. She looked lazy, but a trace of coldness flashed in her eyes. In the last life, it was said that the disaster on the Empress Dowager's birthday was caused by a painting made of maple leaves. She couldn't find out the details with her identity at that time. She only said that there were many rumors outside. The Empress Dowager fell ill and was bedridden. Then the power in the hands of the Empress was taken away and she was put under house arrest. There was a big change in the palace, and many people died in the catastrophe there. As for the rebellion of Prince Zhou in the end, this matter should also be an important cause. The original status of the legitimate son was threatened by the Empress's accident, so Prince Zhou also took a risk. This matter originally had nothing to do with her, but after hearing that Prince Chen was also implicated, she reached out and rubbed her head. She couldn't remember how exactly he was implicated, or she didn't know at all. She only knew that this matter was very important. She didn't know where the Empress Dowager's maple leaf painting came from, but this time she tried to destroy that painting and then make up for it with her own painting. With the Empress Dowager's love for Chu Luchen and her painting, she shouldn't punish her too heavily for accidentally destroying this painting. But who on earth gave this painting to her? Why did she know that the painting was ruined, but she didn't know where it came from? It seemed that the Emperor and the Empress Dowager didn't punish anyone. After such a big thing happened, even if the 9 generations of the Empress Dowager's family were not killed, she would definitely not be well. Who was it that caused such a huge disaster and was still alive and well? While Xiao Wanru was guessing, Chu Luchen suddenly decided to speed up. A few days ago, they set off when the sun was high in the sky. Before sunset, they had to rest. Prince Chen was not feeling well, so he stopped all reactions. However, something was obviously wrong in the past 2 days. Not only did they speed up by half, but they also got up before dawn in the morning. When they couldn't find a place in the middle of the night, they made do in the wild and pitched a few tents. Such a rapid march made all the people in the team dizzy. At first, Princess Yuyan of the Su Kingdom came to Prince Chen from time to time, but now she didn't have the strength to dress up and go out. While the carriage was moving, someone was sent to call Chu Qing over. The Su Kingdom didn't have as many rules as the Dongsan Kingdom. Moreover, in everyone's mind, the relationship between the two of them had long been unclear. It was not a big deal for Princess Yuyan to call Chu Qing to the carriage to talk. When they entered the capital city, the relationship between them would be open. As soon as Chu Qing sat down in the carriage, Princess Yuyan said unhappily, "What on earth does your Prince Chen want to do?" She was charming. Although she was not as delicate as Princess Yutao, she was more gentle and charming than a woman. In the Su Kingdom, there were more people who wanted to marry Princess Yuyan than Yutao. There were more people in the Su Kingdom who wanted to marry Princess Yutao. She had thought that after marrying Princess Yutao, the Su Kingdom would be the world of her mothers. She didn't expect that she would be with Chu Qing. As long as she thought of this, Princess Yuyan was very angry. When Chu Qing came in, he didn't give him a good look, and she disliked him very much. Although Chu Qing was handsome, he was much worse than Chu Luchen. When the two of them stood together, everyone would turn their eyes to Chu Luchen. Princess Yuyan had originally accepted her fate, but now she was a little reluctant. Anyway, she and Chu Qing didn't really have anything to do with each other. It didn't matter if they just lay together in disheveled clothes. She was the princess of the Su Kingdom, which was enough to cover up her slight shortcomings. Moreover, she thought that she was charming and much more feminine than Princess Yutao. How could she not be able to conquer Chu Luchen? Unfortunately, after a while, Chu Luchen didn't move at all. She felt very aggrieved. She had never suffered such a big loss in the hands of a man. No matter how she tempted him, Prince Chen looked at her as if she was a piece of wood, without any affection. She couldn't even get close to him, let alone anything else. Now, she had asked Chu Luchen about the rapid march, but Chu Luchen just smiled faintly and only said that he was not in good health. No matter what she asked, he ignored her and sent a eunuch to talk to her. Princess Yuyan couldn't get anything out of him, so she could only ask someone to summon Chu Qing. When she saw Chu Qing, she was angry. If it weren't for Chu Qing, she would still be in the Su Kingdom. As the most beautiful princess in men's hearts, how could she follow him to the capital of the Dongsan Kingdom? Maybe he wants to return to the capital as soon as possible. The birthday of Imperial Grandmother is coming. Chu Qing said vaguely. It was the birthday of the Empress Dowager, and the whole country would celebrate it. In fact, he also wanted to go back early and send a birthday gift. When Chu Luchen walked slowly before, he was anxious. Although he was a little tired now, it seemed that it was still possible to reach the capital before the birthday. Why don't you ask clearly? Aren't you Commandery Prince Qing? You are Prince Chen's brother. What can't you say? Princess Yuyan raised her eyebrows high and said coldly. Prince Chen is not the same as me. There were no outsiders here, so Chu Qing said unhappily with a straight face. In his opinion, Princess Yuyan was destined to be his, so there was no need to be as respectful and polite as before. Moreover, they had already entered the border of the Dongzang kingdom, so he was the host. When you have nothing to do, don't get close to Chu Luchen. You are his sister-in-law. What do you look like if you always get close to Chu Luchen? It's not nice to talk to him. Chu Qing lectured Princess Yuyan again. Of course, he was not very satisfied with marrying Princess Yuyan. It could be said that he had never thought of marrying the princess of the Su kingdom. It was he who suggested marrying Princess Yutao to Chu Luchen to Princess Yuyan's mother. He did not expect that in the end, Princess Yutao would turn the tables and force him to marry Princess Yuyan. With Princess Yuyan, it was difficult for him to explain some things, especially to his former fiancée. Therefore, Chu Qing was also in a bad mood on the way. Now that he had come here, the knot in his heart was slowly undone. If he really could not do it, he would make the two co-wives. Princess Yuyan was of noble status, so she would naturally be the main wife. It was not a disgrace to her to be the original co-wife. Slap. A heavy slap in the face made Chu Qing's eyes widen. He looked at Princess Yuyan, who frowned in front of him.